Chapter 294. Toru Watanabe stood on the pitcher's mound. The other 8 members of Kamigawa spread out and took their positions. The first batter from Aoyama High School walked up to the batter's box. Watanabe! Watanabe! On the left, Kamigawa's support team shouted in unison. On the right, our Aoyama High School support team was also shouting. There were more than 200 or 300 people on both sides, but their momentum was not to be underestimated. The sparse audience kept glancing at them, which was more eye-catching than a match. After the first batter from Aoyama High School adjusted his posture, the referee standing behind the catcher made a gesture, and Toru Watanabe could throw the ball. He had learned a little about pitching when he was training with Osamu Kunai. The so-called "a little," specifically, was the rule of the strike zone. The so-called strike zone was the zone that was easy for the batter to hit. It was used to restrict the pitcher. That was what Osamu Kunai had said at the time. It's not easy for the pitcher to hit, Toru Watanabe recalled in his mind. At the same time, he assumed a perfect pitching posture. That was all he knew and did about the baseball club. When he assumed a pitching posture, not only did the crowd not quiet down, the cheers from Kamigawa's support team grew louder. Just as the Watanabe girls shouted, Toru Watanabe threw the ball. Bam! The ball fell into the catcher's glove. A strike. The referee behind the catcher said something unclear. Watanabe. Aoyama. Our Aoyama High School's cheerleaders seemed to have more people than Kamigawa. The catcher threw the ball back to Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe adjusted his posture and looked at the first batter from Aoyama High School. He didn't swing his bat just now. That's all I need to do. He glanced at the audience and confirmed that the 2 young ladies and madam were safe. He lifted his leg and threw the ball. Bang! The sound was crisp and clear. The ball was hit by the bat and rolled out. After confirming the hit, the first batter from Green Mountain dropped his baseball bat and ran toward Osamu Kunai at first base. As Tetsumasa Watanabe watched the batter run, the ball suddenly flew out from behind him and rushed towards Osamu Kunai. Osamu Kunai caught the ball cleanly. 1 out. The referee near Osamu Kunai shouted. Looks like I lost face. Toru Watanabe adjusted his baseball cap, walked off the mound, and walked toward the manager's seat. When he was about to walk out of the stadium, Osamu Kunai pulled him back and looked at him in disbelief. Where are you going? Wasn't he eliminated? The one who's out is the hitter just now. You bastard! Osamu Kunai roared. With me here, they won't even get to the first base. I see. Toru Watanabe turned and walked back to the pitcher's mound. Osamu Kunai is standing at first base. The hitter immediately ran there after hitting the ball. Does he score at first base? Or, forget it. There was no need to think about the rules in this game. What I should do now? Toru Watanabe looked at the second batter from Green Mountain High School. Make sure the opponent misses the ball. The second batter was in position. The catcher squatted down. The referee behind the catcher was fully focused. How can I make the opponent miss the ball? Toru Watanabe looked at the audience again, thinking casually in his head. The first ball, the hitter deliberately didn't swing his bat and observed the path of the ball. The second ball, he hit it directly and almost hit a single. Kun Watanabe is in danger. Toru Watanabe's first baseball fan, Mrs. Kujo, said happily. Embarrassing. Miki Kujo was unhappy and decided to punish him tonight. Rin Kiyono yawned elegantly. The temperature was neither too hot nor too cold. There was no wind. The cheerleaders from both teams were shouting non-stop. I can't hit it. Is it because the ball is too slow? Then let's hurry up and try. Toru Watanabe raised his leg and got into a standard stance. The second batter from Green Mountain High School held the bat with both hands and stared at Toru Watanabe. The first batter told him that the pitcher in front of him, who came out of nowhere, threw 2 straight balls with average speed in the middle of the strike zone. There was no better ball to hit than that. The problem was, the opponent's defense was very good. Could he run to first base? No, he ran very fast. If he hit the ball well enough, he might even be able to run to second base. Good ball. The referee shouted. The second batter from Green Mountain High School was speechless. Average speed. Was it 140 km/h just now? It was definitely there. Beautiful. The catcher threw the ball back. Toru Watanabe caught the ball thrown back by the catcher. That ball should be able to. No, the previous batter didn't swing his bat, and his expression was just as calm. Considering the possibility that not swinging his bat is a tactic, it's safer to throw the second ball a little harder. Toru Watanabe raised his leg, swung his arm, and threw the ball. The piercing sound of the wind. At that moment, the catcher, who had been facing fast balls for many years, instinctively closed his eyes, regardless of whether he was brave or not. It's over. A mistake. As soon as the catcher thought that, a drilling force came from the baseball glove on his left hand, threatening to pierce through his palm. Good ball. The referee shouted. Nice ball. The catcher roared in excitement as his left hand went slightly numb. He threw the ball back to Toru Watanabe with great effort. The second batter from Green Mountain High School was speechless. Toru Watanabe caught the ball easily. He was as confused as the first batter. The catcher suddenly spoke English? The rules of baseball. In that case, baseball seemed to have originated in America. This ball speed seems to be enough to deal with Green Mountain High School, Toru Watanabe confirmed as he looked at the second batter's nervous expression. He raised his leg and threw the ball. Strike out. Batter out. Following the referee's voice, the second batter walked back to the Green Mountain High School coach's seat with a look of doubt on his face. Toru Watanabe caught the ball thrown back by the catcher. He used his foot to find a comfortable foothold on the pitcher's mound and looked at the audience. The two young ladies are safe. Madam Watanabe. Watanabe. When did she join Kamigawa's cheerleading team? Cheerleading team? Toru Watanabe finally remembered that there was such a group of people. He looked over, then immediately looked away. Although the skirt was short, it was full of safety shorts. If this continues, the baseball game will lose its charm sooner or later. Toru Watanabe looked at the third batter from Green Mountain High School. When the opponent was in position and he was about to throw the ball, the catcher's gloveless hand suddenly made an unclear gesture on his crotch. Toru Watanabe was speechless. He could guess that it was a secret signal, but secret signals were not something that laymen could easily understand. Do you understand? The catcher gave him a simple and easy to understand look, and at the same time, moved slightly. Toru Watanabe shook his head. The catcher's movement paused, and then he quickly made another gesture on his crotch. Without waiting for him to finish, Toru Watanabe shook his head. If he didn't understand, he didn't understand. Even if he was the best in the country, he couldn't understand what the catcher was trying to say. The catcher returned to his original position and placed his glove in the middle of the strike zone. Toru Watanabe raised his leg and threw the ball. The piercing sound of the wind was heard again. Because of his previous experience, although the catcher didn't know how good Toru Watanabe was at controlling the ball, he was at least certain that the ball had some control and didn't have to worry about it hitting him. He opened his eyes and watched the ball, which, based on his years of experience, had a speed of almost 160 kilometers per hour. It fell into the basket like a cannonball. The slight numbness in his palm increased. Strike one. The umpire shouted. The speed of the two balls is almost the same. The catcher threw the ball back in the basket. Baseball seems a little boring. With that thought, Toru Watanabe threw the second ball mechanically. Strike two. The catcher threw the ball back, and Toru Watanabe threw the third ball at the same speed. 3 strikes. 3 outs. Offense and defense exchange. Watanabe. Watanabe. After shouting, they cheerfully sang the school song in unison. 4 valleys and hills, the school building where the crow flies, our alma mater, Kamigawa. On the wide scoreboard in the distance, The score for the second half of Aoyama Academy's second sentence was 0. The game ends when 3 batters are out. Toru Watanabe thought about the rules of baseball that he didn't know were correct and walked towards the coach's seat. Watanabe. Osamu Kanai jogged over. You know how good I am, right? During training, all your balls were hit by me. Aoyama High is too weak. Toru Watanabe took off his gloves. That's part of the reason. I can hit a straight ball like yours no matter how fast it is. I only know how to hit straight balls. The catcher, who was about to say something, heard this and closed his mouth. After the Kamigawa cheerleaders finished singing the school song, they started shouting again. Watanabe. Come on. Kamigawa. First place. The other school didn't show any weakness. Aoyama. Come on. During the short break, the cheerleaders from both sides of the fan-shaped field yelled at each other. The cheers were so loud that the field, which could seat 30,000 people, was filled with their voices. Kuin Watanabe. The female manager came over with a towel and water. Great. You completely suppressed the other team's lineup. It was just luck. Toru Watanabe said. It wasn't luck. The ball was very, very fast. All right, here, towel and water. Thanks, I'm not thirsty and I'm not sweating. Then I'll give you a massage. Keep throwing high-speed balls. You need to relax your arms. Thank you, I'm not tired at all. No need. Yujizi. Kunai rubbed his arm and said, Give me a massage, it hurts. Kobayashi Yujizi stared at him with her hands on her hips. You didn't do anything. Kuin Watanabe struck out 3 batters by himself. The second ball was clearly hit. Was it as tough as Kuin Watanabe? He only caught 1 ball. Kuin Watanabe threw 3 balls. Kobayashi Yujizi looked down at Osamu Kanai. No. While the second row was arguing, Kamigawa's first batter was already on the field. The coach looked at the batter's box and asked the catcher, How is it? The ball is very fast, the catcher replied. Can he play? The catcher looked at the batter on the field. It was Kamigawa's ace pitcher, Uchida. Uchida's speed was not as fast as Watanabe's, but it was not slow either. His highest record was 150 kilometers per hour. In Koshien, he might not be the fastest, but he was definitely one of the top pitchers and had the ability to win the championship. Coupled with Osamu Kanai's lineup, everyone's goal this year was to win the championship. This was also the reason why the baseball club dared to promise that if Koshien didn't make it to the finals, they would give everyone a seat at the school gate. Toru Watanabe was the school's star. His club was the legendary Human Observation Club, which was a cultural club. They had only seen him a few times on the field. Even if his speed was very fast, he only knew how to throw straight balls. In the end, was his speed really 160 kilometers per hour? With that kind of monstrous speed, he could definitely go to America and dominate the major leagues. Now that he had calmed down and thought about it carefully, perhaps he was simply facing a high-speed ball that gave him an illusion. He had never caught a ball with a speed of 160 kilometers per hour. Not to mention Kamigawa's pitchers, this kind of speed had only appeared a few times in Koshien. Every time, it would cause a huge uproar, make the commentator's saliva fly, and print a whole page of the newspaper with the pitcher's picture. Toru Watanabe, who had never trained, could throw such a ball? Impossible. As long as there were no accidents, their team would definitely make it to the top 4 this year. The finals required a little bit of luck, and the championship required a little bit of luck. In this case, there was no need to risk Toru Watanabe, who had never trained before, to play. Uchida was good, but he had to work with a catcher like him to show his true strength. Toru Watanabe, who only knew how to throw straight balls, and only in the middle of the strike zone, made him, the catcher, almost a robot. No, a robot. What was the point of winning like that? However, there was still a lingering numbness in his left hand. In order to win Kamigawa's honor, he was willing to squat and not move. Everything was for Kamigawa. Everything was for Koshien. Coach, I think he... Watanabe. A dash. Toru Watanabe was not on the field. He was in the coach's seat, where the support team could not see. On the field was the ace pitcher, Uchida, who was running to first base, but there were still many people shouting Toru Watanabe's name above his head. Coach, he only has speed. Other than that, he has nothing else. Yeah. The catcher was very fat. He crossed his arms and calmly watched the ace pitcher, Uchida, rush to first base. Watanabe, you've been popular enough in Kamigawa. Koshien, the sacred field, will not be trampled by you. The order of the batters had been decided at the beginning. Toru Watanabe did not have a chance to play. Kojin was the fourth batter. The first ball from Aoyama High School's pitcher was cleanly hit by him. Almost without hesitation, as if he already knew that he would hit, he threw away his bat and ran to first base. In the end, he stepped on the second base opposite the batter's seat. At the same time, Uchida, who was originally standing on third base, smoothly ran back to home plate and helped Kamigawa get a run. The player who was originally on first base ran past second base, but was hit on the way to third base and was directly out. With 2 outs, Kamigawa could still continue to score, and the fifth batter could be sent up. Toru Watanabe was dealing with the enthusiastic Kobayashi Yukiko. He took the time to take a look and learned a little more about the rules of baseball. To score a run, the batter had to run from the batter's seat, home plate, to first base, second base, third base, and finally back to home plate to score a run. It seemed that one could not run all the way in the middle. If the defender got the ball and touched the runner would be directly eliminated. So the pitcher is the defender? Toru Watanabe felt that he had learned the basics. Baseball was quite simple. If the pitcher was not hit, the batter would run as long as he was not touched by the opposing player who had the ball. If I'm the batter, won't I get a run for sure? Toru Watanabe, who ran fast and had the dodge skill, thought to himself. In the first half of the third inning, Kamigawa scored 3 runs. In the second half, Toru Watanabe came up and struck out 3 opponents with 9 quick, simple, and boring pitches. He immediately started the fourth inning. The catcher took off his gloves, looked at his trembling left hand, and then looked at Toru Watanabe's back as he greeted the audience. 9 balls, the same speed, the same landing point. This was an absolute talent. He opened his mouth. Watanabe. Watanabe. Ah. Watanabe. I love you. The catcher's trembling hand clenched into a fist. He sat down next to the ace pitcher, Uchida, folded his arms, and lowered his baseball cap. Uchida, let's dominate Koshien together. Yeah, let's do it. Toru Watanabe was bored. It was a simple pitching game, and he could not throw to his heart's content. As for the cheers of Kamigawa's cheerleaders, he was already tired of hearing them shout my name out loud, during last year's sports festival. At that time, it was even louder than this. It was the cheers of the entire school. In the 5th sentence, after striking out 3 opponents, 9 innings of the game were suddenly over. Did they surrender? Toru Watanabe asked. The score is 21-0. It's over early. Let's go. Where to? The curtain call. Toru Watanabe followed the baseball players onto the field. Because he was a reserve player, he stood at the back of the team. The 2 schools faced each other and stood in a row. As soon as they stood in position and took off their hats to salute each other, the stadium's air raid siren sounded. Woo! It was an ear-piercing sound. Toru Watanabe straightened his back, turned around, and ran towards Miki Kujo, Rin Kiyono, and Mrs. Kujo in the audience. Because he was too fast, when he rushed out of the baseball field, he realized that no one else seemed to have reacted to the air raid siren except for him. Under Miki Kujo and the others' mocking gazes, he slowed down his pace, took off his baseball cap as if nothing had happened, and flicked the non-existent dust off it. The air raid siren is over. I understand a little about baseball. He put his baseball cap back on. Watanabe. Watanabe. Although the cheerleaders were puzzled by his behavior, it did not stop them from being excited to see Toru Watanabe up close and face to face. They all shouted loudly, "You rascal, do you have to be so impatient?" Osamu Kanai and the others walked over. Kamigawa's baseball team stood in a row again, bowed to the cheerleaders, and shouted in unison, "Thank you very much." After they bowed, the game was finally over. When he left the field with the Kamigawa players, who were talking and laughing, Toru Watanabe suddenly heard the cheers from the opposite side. "Chingshan, go for it! Chingshan, go for it!" It was Chingshan High School's cheerleaders. They were eliminated in the first round of the Koshien preliminaries. The plum rain was not over yet, and summer had not really arrived, but Chingshan High School's baseball team had already finished. They bowed to the cheerleaders for a long time without looking up. A few people in the middle had their heads lowered while wiping their tears. Most of them hid their expressions under their baseball caps. "Kuin Watanabe, you don't have to sympathize with them." The female baseball manager held her luggage. "It's either a loss or a win. Since the day we were eliminated in the first round of Koshien last year, we've been training every day. We deserve any victory." "I know, it's been hard." Toru Watanabe thought of the baseball team that ran every morning, the cheers that he heard after school every day, and the figures that swung their bats on the field on weekends. "Kuin Watanabe, my dad asked me to ask you if you're interested in joining the team?" "Thank you, but no thanks. I still have to guide the playing section." Koshien was a stage full of passion, hard work, and dreams. It was not a place where he, who had not participated in a day's training and did not know the rules, should go and show off. When he returned to the auditorium, he received a warm welcome. "Kuin Watanabe, they didn't let you officially join the team?" Mrs. Kujo was still holding an inflatable baseball bat in her hand. "They invited me. When's the next game? I'll come with little Rin and Mickey to support them. By the way, call Yuko." Yuko was Mrs. Kiyono's name. "I have to guide the playing section. I don't have time, and I'm not interested in baseball. No, I'm not interested in any sports. Except for liars, people who like sports are the second most hated people." As she spoke, Rin Kiyono's expression became gloomy and cold. "I also have a job." "I don't have time," Miki Kujo said. "That's Watanabe-kuin's match, and it's not like it's every day. I've just asked, and there are only 8 matches in the preliminaries." Mrs. Kujio enticed. Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe and said with a smile, "Anyway, he'll win. There's no suspense in a game, and it's a sports game. What's the point of watching it?" "Little Rin, you mean that Watanabe will definitely win as long as he plays?" Mrs. Kujo asked. "I believe in my subordinate." Rin Kiyono confidently brushed her long hair over her shoulder. "Thank you for your envious speech," Miki Kujo said with a smile, "but he's mine." Rin Kiyono looked at her. Before she could speak, Toru Watanabe said, "They invited me, but I refused." "Refused? What's the reason?" Mrs. Kujo asked. "For male high school students, Koshien is everyone's dream, right?" Toru Watanabe looked at the field and said, "That's why I refused." After hearing this, Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe with her cold and charming eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked curiously. "Forget it." Rin Kiyono looked away. Her naked long black hair fell over her back, and the side of her face was submerged in the black hair. Toru Watanabe couldn't see her expression. Temporary event, June 20th, 3:11 p.m. In the audience of the Shrine Stadium, the pure and cold beautiful girl who only likes you wants to say something but hesitates. Event content. Let Rin Kiyono say what she wants to say. Direct questions or indirect hints are prohibited. Event time. Before the end of Koshien. Event reward. 1 point of charm. Special note 1. The charm points rewarded by this temporary event can only be used on the following parts: appearance, hair, facial features, neck, back, waist, hands, shoulders, upper arms, forearms, hands, hips, thighs, calves, feet. Expression, smile, smile, sneer, ridicule, sneer, cry, tears, anger, expressionless, glare, yawn, temperament, cold, calm, elegant, indifferent, personality, confidence, rationality, ego, single-minded, leader, competitive. There's a limit to charm points. It can't be that these are all Rin Kiyono's charm points, right? Chapter 295. A faint scarlet spread across the horizon. It was dusk. Mrs. Kujo raised her arms and stretched her body. After a long sigh, she turned her head and said, "Little Rin, Miki, Kuen Watanabe, want to have dinner together?" Rin Kiyono hesitated for a moment and nodded. The four of them stood up. Toru Watanabe lowered his voice and asked Miki Kujo, "Should I say goodbye to them?" Miki Kujo crossed her arms and looked at him with her eyes. "Sensei, senpai, goodbye." Toru Watanabe raised his voice and said to the two of them. Mayasahi nodded. "Goodbye." Aona Koizumi replied. Then she said to Mrs. Kujo, "Mother Kujo, goodbye." "Goodbye. Koizumi-sensei, please take care of Miki at school." Kujo replied with an elegant and calm smile. After that, she took Miki Kujo and Rin Kiyono's arms and walked toward the exit. "I'm suddenly hungry. Is there anything you want to eat? Go to the port area? Find a restaurant by the Tokyo Bay and enjoy the food while watching the sunset? It's up to you," Chinyi Rin replied nonchalantly. "What about Kuen Watanabe?" Mrs. Kujo turned around and asked. "Anything is fine." Toru Watanabe picked up the jacket on Miki Kujo's chair, shook it twice, and followed. After a few steps, 5 or 6 girls suddenly ran over from the cheerleading team. "Kuen Watanabe, today's competition was amazing," the leading third-year girl said in an admiring tone. "Thank you for your support. I can hear your cheers all the time. This is what we should do. Kuen Watanabe, we will continue to support you. Can I have your autograph?" Everyone looked at Toru Watanabe expectantly. Just as he was about to refuse, he saw someone among them and changed his mind. "I can sign it, but I can't guarantee that it will be worth a lot of money in the future." It's okay. Thank you, Kuen Watanabe." Toru Watanabe took the brand new notebooks, handwritten ledgers, and calendars from them one by one and wrote his name in the appropriate places. "You're here to help. Why did you bring these things with you?" he asked as he signed. "Today is Sunday. We went shopping at Takashita Tong in the morning." The small girl with a voice like a lark replied, at the same time handing over a cute calendar with both hands. "I see." Toru Watanabe nodded. "Please be careful on your way back." In the lower right-hand corner of the calendar he wrote, "Wishing Rika Shimi a smooth study, by Toru Watanabe." All right. He returned the calendar and pen to them. "If I don't leave now, Miki is going to kill me. Goodbye, everyone. Please continue to support the baseball club. Goodbye, Kuen Watanabe, senpai. We will continue to support you." Toru Watanabe took the clothes and turned to the 3 people waiting for him not far away. "Kuen Watanabe is very popular." Mrs. Kujo laughed. "When you were young, you must have been more popular than me." "Of course. All the girls in school confess to me." "Girls. It's an all-girls school. What can I do?" Toru Watanabe ignored Mrs. Kujo, who had entered her teenage girl mode again, and said to Miki Kujo, "I was just signing my name to thank them for their support. As long as there's no physical contact, you don't have to report this to me." Miki Kujo didn't care that her boyfriend was popular. In fact, the more popular Toru Watanabe was and the more jealous she was, the happier she was. While the 3 of them were talking, Rin Kiyono glanced at the girls who had asked for his autograph. When she noticed the appearance of one of the girls, she understood why Toru Watanabe agreed to sign the autograph, which was out of her expectations. "Let's go. I'm really hungry." Under Mrs. Kujo's urging, the 4 of them disappeared from the audience. The girl who had asked for the autograph earlier returned to the cheerleading squad. Ah, I'm so envious. If I had known, I would have mustered up my courage to go too. Even if you go, you don't have anything to sign, do you? Besides, if so many people go, Kuan Watanabe might not sign the contract. Quick, let me see. I haven't seen Kuan Watanabe's signature yet. What happened? Why is only Li Hua's different? How is it different? Ming-Ri Li Hua hurriedly took it back and compared it with the others. Among the people who asked for autographs, the others all said, "I wish you all the best in your studies." She was the only one who said, "I wish you all the best in your studies." Li Hua, are you acquainted with Senior Watanabe? A first-year cheerleader asked curiously. We didn't talk. Asami Rika recalled as she replied. Oh right, isn't Li Hua the freshman representative? Maybe she remembered it then. Kuan Watanabe is so smart, he'll definitely remember it. I also want to be remembered by Senior Watanabe. Li Hua, I envy you so much. But Asami Li Hua, who was surrounded by everyone, hoped that it was not because of that reason. Perhaps, Senior Watanabe thought that she was cute and had already noticed her? Aona Koizumi looked at the cheerleaders who were laughing and playing and said to my Asahi, "Is that your sister?" Okay. My Asahi nodded without any reaction. Because of you, Senior Watanabe seems to take extra care of her. Aona Koizumi smiled gently. Because to her, it was a very beautiful thing for the person you like to be partial to the person you like. Okay. My Asahi still did not have any reaction. Her eyes as clear as summer spring water stared at Koizumi Aonai. Travel, I want to go too. According to the meteorological office, this year's plum rain season would last until the 20th of July. Ever since that short trip to the hot sea, when Toru Watanabe promised to bring her on a trip after the plum rain season, Aona Koizumi was filled with joy every day. Following the continuous victories of the baseball club in the Koshien qualifiers, and even the newspaper came to the school for interviews, the plum rain season began to come to an end. When she heard the crisp chirping of cicadas and confirmed that they were going to Hokkaido Furano to look at the flowers, her whole body began to burn. Other than going to class, even if she was in the teacher's office, looking at the roses that were delivered that day, she would always think of the day they left. Every day when she woke up, she would feel full of energy when she thought that it was one day closer to the end of the plum rain season. Her days became more lively, and her spirit was glowing. The final exams were over, and there were still a few days before the summer vacation. Koizumi-sensei is getting more and more beautiful recently. A female teacher in the same office exclaimed. How can she not be beautiful with a rose every day? Another female teacher who was slightly older said with a smile. It's mainly because of yesterday, Guangzi dragged out his tone. What happened yesterday? The female teachers asked one after another. Guangzi. Aona Koizumi shouted shyly. I'm not telling you. Guangzi said proudly to everyone. Stingy. Boring. After everyone dispersed, Guangzi whispered to Aona Koizumi. Yesterday, you went to send him off, but he didn't come back for a long time. What happened? Nothing. Aona Koizumi tidied up the lesson plan that she had already organized. Nothing. Guangzi took out his phone. Look at how you looked when you came back yesterday. In the video, Aona Koizumi was sitting on the sofa with a pillow in her arms, staring at the TV. From time to time, she would burst into laughter and bury her face in the pillow. When she raised her head, her face was already red. The camera panned to the TV. It was a documentary called Finding Tokyo's Most Delicious Ramen. It was a program that would not make anyone laugh no matter how funny it was. You secretly took a video of me. Aona Koizumi looked at herself in the video and snatched the phone with a red face. Delete it. Tell me what you did yesterday. Nothing. Delete it. I don't believe you. Guangzi protected the phone. Seeing that snatching was not going to work, Aona Koizumi could only blush. She looked around to make sure that no one heard her, and whispered to Guangzi, he got first place in the country, so... Her voice trailed off. Guangzi slowly widened his eyes. You did it. It's not like I didn't. Koizumi Aonai hit her and looked around. I hugged you. That's it. And kissed. Where did you kiss? Guangzi's expression was focused, like a student who was paying more attention in class. Aona Koizumi lowered her head, her face red. She slowly raised her hand and pointed to her soft lips. Even as a woman, Guangzi could not help but be tempted by the shy Aona Koizumi in front of him. He imagined the scene. Aona Koizumi closed her eyes and looked up shyly with a bit of timidity and anticipation. Toru Watanabe slowly approached and tasted the softness of her lips. Maybe there was saliva or something. His hands were not idle either. The more he thought about it, the more Guangzi felt a fire burning in his heart. Guangzi! What's wrong with you? Aona Koizumi suddenly shouted, her face pale with fright. Me? What do you mean? Liquid flowed out of her nose. She reached out and wiped it. It was all blood. Don't move. Here's a tissue. Aona Koizumi quickly passed her a tissue. Guangzi used the tissue to cover her nose. It was quickly dyed red, and she quickly replaced it with new tissue. Have you been heaty recently? After the initial panic, Aona Koizumi calmed down and asked with concern. It's all your fault. Guangzi's nose was blocked, and her voice was muffled. Blame me? Did you cook something heaty recently? But you're the only one with a nosebleed. Aona Koizumi passed her another tissue. Let's go to the infirmary and let Miyuki take a look. Help me there. Guangzi said coquettishly. A nosebleed meant that she was a patient. Okay. I'll help you there. Aona Koizumi helped her up. Take the tissue, Guangzi reminded. The campus was filled with noise. For the Kamigawa students who had to study hard, they could only relax after the end of term exams and the end of summer tuition. When they reached the first floor, they saw a reporter interviewing the ace pitcher of Koshien. They couldn't remember his name. It was said that he was quite active in the semi-finals of the East Tokyo Regional Tournament. I heard that your team promised that if you didn't enter the finals of Koshien, the whole team would kneel in front of the school gate and apologize to all the teachers and students of the school? Yes. There's no way back. It can stimulate our greatest potential and desire to win. Moreover, the school is supporting us more and more year after year, especially the principal. He gave us a lot of money to use the best equipment and the best venue. We have to be worthy. The two of them went to the infirmary. At this time, Guangzi's nosebleed had stopped by itself. After the afternoon class, the students were dismissed early, and the teachers attended a plenary meeting. The three female teachers sat in the corner. The principal, the head of teaching, and the physical education teacher sat at the top. After the head of teaching reported the results of Kamigawa's first-term exams, the principal began to praise the outstanding teachers. First-year Class 1 Sensei Tanaka Saika, in her class, Rika Osaka got 9th place in the first year. Second-year Class 4's Aona Koizumi Sensei. Guangzi used his elbow to nudge Aona Koizumi. Because the principal was looking at them, Aona Koizumi's expression was serious, and he didn't dare to make any unnecessary movements. Toru Watanabe won first place in the country for a second time. Kiyono and Kujo tied for second place. After the school's efforts, the four imperial universities, including Tokyo University, promised that as long as the three students maintain the same results in the second semester, they can enter the school without taking the exam. This is a great honor, even for a private school like ours. Did they use their connections? Once the news is out, they'll be able to snatch students next year? Guangzi looked straight ahead, his lips barely moving. Probably. Miyazaki Miyuki also didn't move her lips. Even if they used their connections, it's because Watanabe and the other two have the ability to do so. Aona Koizumi said in a low voice. The principal praised a teacher from the third year of high school. Apart from the above news, this meeting is mainly to arrange the work for the summer vacation. The principal continued. Since last year, our school has decided to strengthen the strength of the clubs while maintaining the enrollment rate of the imperial universities. The club that was decided at that time was the baseball club. We spent a lot of money to recruit members from all over the country, and in the first year, we achieved the result of Tokyo's representative. At the same time last year, we only bought some instruments and didn't deliberately hire a conductor, but with the help of Rin Kiyono and Toru Watanabe, we won the gold medal in the national competition. Toru Watanabe was also nominated by many music universities, including Musashino Music University. As long as he successfully graduates, he can enter the school directly. Isn't that kid too amazing? Guangzi began to whisper again. He's a genius. Miyazaki Miyuki sighed. Not only that, Watanabe is also working very hard. Aona Koizumi said. In front of them, the principal paused for a moment. Our school's goal this year is for the baseball club to reach the finals of Koshien. Regarding this, the baseball club's president, Uchida-san, has already promised me, so the school must fully support them. I've decided. The principal looked at the teachers. We'll organize the entire school to support them. There was a small commotion below. Cheerleading team, blowing club, and other students must also participate in supporting them, Yanuda-sensei. Yes. The PE teacher, surnamed Yanuda-sensei, stood up and bowed to everyone. The main way to support them is to shout slogans in unison, use black and white signs, Heisei school emblem, Kamigawa, victory, and so on. The PE teacher bowed again and sat down. Thank you, Yanuta-sensei. The principal said, I'll have to trouble all teachers to inform the students and contact their parents to ensure that the students can train at school during the summer and practice supporting them. Also, to ensure the safety of the students and avoid accidents, especially during the summer when it's easy to get heat stroke, all class teachers must stay in Tokyo until the end of Koshien and come to school every day to watch over the students during training. Of course, your salary will be twice the usual. If Koshien wins, your salary will be 3 times the usual. Apart from the class teachers who are forced to participate, the rest of the teachers can sign up voluntarily. The reward will be doubled, and the winner will be doubled. Principal I. Huangzi raised his hand. The meeting is over. Go to the head teacher and sign up. Yes. Huangzi dragged his words out. Everyone laughed, and the principal also chuckled. Watanabe, Kiyono, and Kujo would almost certainly be admitted to Imperial University in advance. The cultural club's blowing club won the national gold medal last year. This year, the baseball club was very strong. Now, there was only one final game left, and they would be able to qualify for Koshien. Fame would give them a strong source of students, and the source of students would ensure a high-quality admission rate. Coupled with the gradually strong club activities, as the principal, he would be able to join the Ministry of Culture and Science through the recommendation of the school board in a year or two. For this reason, in addition to making achievements, he also had to curry favor with the Kujo family. Everything was foolproof. As long as the baseball club didn't make any mistakes this year, even if they were only in the top 8 of Koshien and not eliminated in the first round. By the way, the principal came back to his senses from his beautiful dream. Miyazaki-sensei, as the school doctor, please be on standby at all times. Yes. The meeting was over. Compared to before he entered the meeting room, the school building was empty and quiet, and there was not a single person in the corridor. At this time, Kanagawa High School was like a ruin where people suddenly disappeared and the building was preserved. Except for the occasional mournful cry of the crows, there was no movement at all. Even the blowing club, the baseball club, and the clubs that had competitions in the summer were dismissed early today. The sky was full of sunset. The weather had been good recently. If it didn't rain, it meant that this year's plum rain had passed. The plum rain is going to pass. Aona Koizumi was very dissatisfied, and her heart was full of complaints towards the principal. Why is the homeroom teacher forcing us to stay in Tokyo? Because the salary is high, Guangzi said. I'd rather not, Aona Koizumi affirmed. I see that you're now willing to be fired in order to go on a trip with that boy Watanabe. Miyazaki Miyuki carelessly put her hands in her white lab coat. As the school doctor, she stayed in school longer than the homeroom teacher, so of course her salary wasn't low. How about resigning? Aona Koizumi said. Hey. Guangzi was shocked. It wasn't easy for us to pass so many written exams and interviews before we could join Kamigawa. Resigning for a trip, you won't be able to see the youth during the day. Think carefully, Aonai. Miyazaki Miyuki said. Sigh. Aona Koizumi let out a long sigh. When Koshien ends, it'll still be summer vacation, right? Can't we just go then? Guangzi said. Okay. Aona Koizumi clenched her fist, her face full of determination. I hope the baseball club loses in the finals. That's our school's baseball club. And the longer the baseball club lasts, the more we'll get paid. Don't you want to save money to buy clothes and toys for your future children? P.S. Thanks to the fourth leader of Spring Autumn Rain 1994. Chapter 296. I haven't corrected the wrong words yet. Check it later. This chapter says displacement, deleted after correction. The last day of the first semester of the second year of high school, July 20th. I checked the weather this morning. The highest temperature was 32 degrees Celsius. It's been like this for the past few days, but I felt so stuffy when I woke up this morning. Will it rain? Not necessarily. The rainfall rate is 36%. I hate it. I hope it ends soon. Well, if it ends at noon, I'll have to go back under the sun. I don't want that. I'm worried about the rain, but the sun is also very uncomfortable. Toru Watanabe listened to the conversation between the two girls in front of him. He used the automatic pencil in his hand to write down the learning experience requested by the principal on the grid paper used for writing essays. Crack. The pencil lead broke. A small piece of the white grid paper was blackened by the lead powder. This scene was somewhat familiar. With this thought in mind, Toru Watanabe pressed the end of the pencil with his thumb. Crack, crack. There was only the sound, but no pencil lead came out. He turned his head and turned around. You're still attending after the final exam. Is there a slump in work recently? Toru Watanabe flipped through Miki Kujo's stationery and took the pencil lead from it. Didn't I tell you? Miki Kujo put on her shirt. She supported her face with her left hand and played with her phone with her right hand. What did you say? Toru Watanabe stuffed the pencil lead into the automatic pencil. Mother suddenly said, Miki, enjoy the last 2 years of high school. Then she took away my rights. That's good. Toru Watanabe said, high school students should study and enjoy their youth. Someone lost when I worked. I don't know if someone will feel despair if I don't work. Toru Watanabe turned his head to look to his left. Rin Kiyono was holding a thin hardcover book and reading it. The room was air-conditioned. She wore a thin spring sleeveless cardigan over her shirt. Because her clothes were thin and she was wearing a tight-fitting sweater, the Kamigawa Raven emblem on her chest could be seen rising and falling slightly. That's good, that's good. Toru Watanabe was very pleased. Rin Kiyono didn't react to Miki Kujo's words, but she looked up from her book because of Toru Watanabe's gaze. Her cold and beautiful eyes stared at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe looked back in confusion. What are you so happy about? I got first place in the country. I'm happy. Lies. Yeah, getting first place in the country can't make me happy anymore. Toru Watanabe pressed the automatic pencil, and a lot of the lead fell out. Then, he put it back. What should we do in the future? What do you mean? Miki Kujo asked as she looked at her phone screen. Personal value must be satisfied in material and spiritual aspects. Toru Watanabe opened Miki Kujo's math textbook and wrote material and spiritual in Chinese characters. Material doesn't need to be said, the key is spiritual. He casually drew a beautiful circle around the word spirit. Material satisfaction doesn't necessarily bring happiness. Rin Kiyono said. Of course, that's why spiritual satisfaction is more important. Toru Watanabe nodded. So, Miki Kujo glanced at him. Getting first place in the country can't bring you satisfaction, so you're going to find something else? You're really my Mickey. Now the question is, where should I find spiritual satisfaction? Toru Watanabe put a behind spiritual. Consider your identity as a high school student. Miki Kujo took a pen and wrote, participate in national competitions, student president, under spiritual. Or develop an interest. Rin Kiyono said, spiritual satisfaction doesn't need to be something special. The narcissus blooming on the kitchen counter is enough to satisfy a lot of people. Competitions and interests. Toru Watanabe's eyes showed a thoughtful look. Before he could think of a specific matter, Aona Koizumi came in. Go back to your seat. Tetsumesa Watanabe was about to turn around when Miki Kujo looked at her. Mathematics B. Wipe it clean. Huh? Oh. Toru Watanabe picked up her eraser. When he turned around and Aona Koizumi started the morning class meeting, Miki Kujo noticed. The only thing that was erased from the book was the part that he had written. Her participate in national competitions, student president, remained. Under the table, she kicked Toru Watanabe's chair. Aona Koizumi relayed the news from yesterday's meeting. Teacher, a girl raised her hand, I still have tutoring during the summer, can I ask for leave? Other than the last 30 students in the final exam who need to participate in the tutoring organized by the school, everyone else also needs to participate. Hey! There was a sound of dissatisfaction. Many people had signed up for tutoring during the summer or were preparing to go on a trip. This is the school's rule, I can't do anything about it. Aona Koizumi looked at everyone's sad faces and comforted them. Everyone is already very outstanding. During the summer vacation, enjoy the club activities, go to Koshien for free, and support the baseball club. Teacher. Aoi Ichiki raised her hand. Classmate Itsuki, please speak. Do the members of the Blowing Club need to participate in other activities besides singing support songs? No need. That's great. Then for those of us who are in charge of holding signs and shouting slogans, do we train on the field or in the gymnasium? Field? The girls shouted, the sun is so hot, I don't want to. I'll definitely get a tan. Damn the baseball club. They're wasting our tutoring time and making us sunbathe. Koizumi, I remember you're in the baseball club, right? Yes. Can't we not support this? Everyone. Aona Koizumi clapped her hands and the classroom quieted down. It's good to study hard and have books when you eat, but when you reach the age of a teacher, sunbathing together during the summer vacation, practicing with your classmates, and working hard together with the baseball club will become a beautiful memory of your youth. This was the school's rule, so there was no point in complaining. Koizumi, you bastard, if you can't win the Koshien championship, then you should commit seppuku. Keisuke Saito gritted his teeth. He was preparing to use the summer vacation to finish the game in one go. That's right. The girls agreed, don't embarrass Kamigawa. Don't let us get tanned for nothing. Don't worry, everyone. Osamu Kanai stood up, this year, we'll definitely dominate Koshien. On the first day of the summer vacation, the hot summer began. Kamigawa. Go for it. Kamigawa. Victory. The sound of cicadas was like rain. In the middle of summer, the cheers on the field spread all the way to Shibuya Station and were covered by the rumbling of the trams. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not far away, the cheerleaders were wearing short-sleeved shirts and shorts, waving pom-poms and inflatable baseballs. Idiots! Waving the bats is not for you to do as you please. Keep your spirits up. Yes. Bigger. Yes. In the baseball club, the sweaty baseball team was covered in mud. They were sweating profusely as they practiced waving the bats and hitting the balls. Bang! Amidst the metallic sounds, one could hear the Koshien support song played by the flute department, the majestic and vigorous Ju Guan Jun Hui Ku. In the entire school, only the human observation department was out of place. Toru Watanabe stood by the window that seemed to be burning hot, looking into the distance. From here, He could only see the entire school raising the black and white school emblem, Kamigawa, and Victory. The school rules forbade them from dyeing their hair, and those people's black hair shone brightly under the sun. The cheerleaders' legs rose and fell with the chant, brimming with the vitality of young life. It's summer. Rin Kiyono, who was reading a book, suddenly said. Yes. Toru Watanabe returned to his seat. He pulled up the curtains, but still couldn't resist the scorching sun. Bang! The book fell to the ground. Miki Kujo, who was sleeping, woke up. Ah, she yawned. What time is it? 10:09. Toru Watanabe answered. It's boring, why don't I work? Miki Kujo changed her sleeping position and closed her eyes again. Auntie wants you to enjoy your youth, not to sleep in school. Toru Watanabe said. You want me to go down and raise a sign with those people like an idiot? How about the flute department? No. I'll sit in the VIP seats, watch them work hard, and enjoy their performance. For them, this is already an honor. I don't agree with your idea, but I approve of your approach. Rin Kiyono's voice, even in this summer, still sounded cold. You just hate exercising and sweating. Toru Watanabe exposed her. That's rude, Watanabe-san. Rin Kiyono smiled sweetly. This is the awareness of the upper-class people, whether it's the principal or the teachers. In this kind of weather, they won't agree to let me enjoy my youth under the scorching sun. You should also get used to it. Miki Kujo said to Toru Watanabe with a gradually drowsy voice. Sitting in the VIP seats and training under the scorching sun, both are acceptable. If possible, I want to maintain this attitude. Toru Watanabe said. Miki Kujo didn't answer. She had already fallen asleep. After not going to work, Toru Watanabe spent most of his time sleeping in Kamibocho. Rin Kiyono was tired. She closed the book and took out the chess. While she was playing chess, Toru Watanabe took cold grapes from the refrigerator and put them on the chessboard. The two people ate while playing chess. The air conditioner blew out cold air, the chess pieces collided with the chessboard, the sound of chewing grapes, the distorted air, the noisy cicadas, and the distant shouts of the playground. Time passed day by day, and in the blink of an eye, it was July 28th, Saturday. Today was the East Tokyo Qualifier Finals. The winner will get the right to represent the 20th District of East Tokyo and go to the Hanshin Koshien Stadium in Hyogo Prefecture to participate in the National College Baseball Tournament. The two teams in the finals were the representative of Shinjuku, Kamigawa, and the representative of Chiyoda, Sansong. The venue of the finals was the Meiji Shrine Baseball Stadium, which was known as the Island Baseball Holy Land. The game time was 2:00 in the afternoon. Everyone gathered at the school and took the bus to the stadium. Dozens of buses, like a long dragon, set off from Kanagawa High School's campus and went to the Shrine Baseball Stadium. In the school bus, the students who were training hard also had high hopes for the next baseball game. No one wants to be disappointed. Everyone was discussing enthusiastically and full of excitement. On the bus of the second class, Keisuke Saito and a group of boys, who were sitting on the baseball team's bus, were having a video call with Osamu Kanai. Koi, come on. Don't worry. I'll let you see Uncle Koi's heroic appearance. Can you hit the ball to us? I heard that the ball hit outside the field. The audience can directly bring it back. Kamigawa is sitting on the side. Hitting you is out of bounds. Do you want to kill me? What's the matter with one ball? Anyway, we will win today, right? The atmosphere was in full swing. The huge wheels of the bus, with the blazing summer heat, arrived at the Shrine Baseball Stadium full of spectators. In the VIP seats of the Shrine Baseball Stadium, Toru Watanabe, Miki Kujo, Kujo Masakazu, Kiyono Yuko, and Rin Kiyono, the five of them sat in this order. Unlike the crowded and exposed audience seats, the seats here were spacious enough, and there was free air conditioning. There are a lot of people. Toru Watanabe was a little surprised. The temperature today was not low. He came to watch the game under the hot sun. He thought that it would be good if he could fill the seats. In the end, He underestimated the enthusiasm of the Japanese for baseball. The Shrine Baseball Stadium, which could accommodate 30,000 people, was almost full at this time. Kun Watanabe doesn't understand baseball? Mrs. Kiyono said. If there must be a distinction between understanding and not understanding, then he probably doesn't understand. Toru Watanabe replied. Every summer, it's the summer of Koshien. For the whole country, it's also a festival. Aunt Kiyono likes baseball? Toru Watanabe asked. My high school also had a baseball club, although it was a girls' club. I could only play by myself or organize games with other girls' schools. Mrs. Kiyono recalled. I want to see your posture when you throw the ball, swing the bat, and run the bases. There are photos. I'll show you when we get back tonight. That's great. Where are you going? Miki Kujo asked Toru Watanabe. I was just saying. Ah, so Kun Watanabe was lying to his mother, bad boy. I'm Kun Watanabe's mother, right? Mrs. Kujo said, I won't allow you to bully my child. Whose child is it? It's too early to tell, isn't it, Rin? Mrs. Kiyono asked her daughter. Of course. You have to be confident, regardless of whether you can succeed or not. Miki Kujo smiled. It seems to be starting. Toru Watanabe changed the subject. The 5 people looked at the field. On the left, the students of Kanagawa High School, wearing the same color support uniform, each held a sign that formed a huge Kamigawa. On the right, the students of Sansong High School also held a sign. Looking at the number of people, the whole school also came out. Suddenly, wind music sounded in the noisy sound. The game hadn't started yet, but the wind departments of both schools began to compete across the fan-shaped baseball field. The sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the noise was loud. Both teams began to enter the field. Kamigawa, come on. Sansong, come on. The communication of 30,000 people was drowned out by the thousands of people from the 2 schools. The temperature was getting higher and higher, and the atmosphere was suddenly lifted. The opening ceremony of the final game invited the female vocalist Yuchi Masato, also known as Sanhwa Rimi from Sanhwa Rimi. Even a Chunibyu wants to fall in love. Little Bird swims in 6 flowers, Tangerine Coat in Girlfriend at Home, and Fisher in Original God. It was said that she was a female vocalist who loved baseball. Toru Watanabe picked up the binoculars on the table. Sure enough, Osamu Kanai's face was filled with infatuation. This guy bought a photo of Yuchi Masato. He was a disgusting chef. The camera panned up. It was Sansong's cheerleaders. They had safety pants. He put down the binoculars regretfully. As for Kamigawa's cheerleaders, he had known for a long time that they had safety pants, and they were even better than skirts. Everyone. The male host's voice rang through the field. It's another summer full of tears and sweat. Blazing battles. Hot youth. The female host said passionately, after a simple opening speech. Next, let's welcome the popular female vocalist Yuchi Masato to start the game. Chapter 297. Uchida-san. Yes. Naomi Uchida was wearing a baseball uniform and a white pleated skirt. She looked very energetic. She stood in the empty field and talked to the 2 hosts who were nowhere to be seen. I heard that you really like baseball, right? Very, very much. My dream is to marry a professional baseball player. Oh. The male host exclaimed, Uchida-san, I used to work for a professional team, so I'm considered a baseball player. May I ask if I have a chance? Well. Naomi Uchida tilted her head, pretending to be troubled. What do you mean by considered a baseball player? The female host laughed. Uchida-san, don't worry about this person. Yes, I understand. Naomi Uchida agreed without hesitation. Hey! The male host shouted, unwilling to give up. Naomi Uchida smiled brightly, and her sweet smile filled the entire electronic screen. However, the female host said, As a member of the baseball team, Uchida-san can consider it. Naomi Uchida was shocked, and her expression was exaggerated. Can I? Of course not. The male host firmly objected. Uchida-san is 30 years old this year, and this is the Koshien qualifiers. The contestants are all high school students. It's a crime. Naomi Uchida pretended to ponder, then said in a light tone, "As expected, I should have ignored you today." "I'm sorry." The crowd burst into laughter. After the warm-up, the female host said, "It's time to start the game. Uchida-san, please come to the pitcher's mound." "Yes." "Okay." Naomi Uchida handed the microphone to a staff member, put on her gloves, and walked to the pitcher's mound with the ball. The attention of 30,000 people made her smile unnaturally nervous. "Good luck, Uchida-san," the male host shouted. Naomi Uchida raised her hand high and made a gesture of good luck. Kamigawa's catcher was squatting at home plate, and the umpire was standing behind him. "Uchida-san, let's begin." Naomi Uchida raised the ball high above her head, and then lifted her leg. Her posture seemed to have been practiced, as it was quite accurate. She threw with all her might. The distance from the pitcher's mound to the catcher's position was 18.44 meters. For Uchida, who was only 155 centimeters tall and didn't usually train, the ball would fall to the ground after flying halfway, let alone accurately hitting the catcher's glove. The ball rolled along the ground towards the catcher. Naomi Uchida shyly covered her mouth, then laughed cheerfully. "Thank you, Miss Uchida. Haha. The kickoff is over." The 104th Summer Koshien Tournament, the finals of the Tokyo District, officially begins. In the first half of the first round, Sansong of the Chiyoda District will attack first. Shinjuku Kamigawa defense. Kamigawa's 9 starters have entered the arena. Kamigawa's starting pitcher is indeed Uchida Yuki, a veteran who has been in Koshien for 3 years. Last year, at the same Jingong Stadium, he led Kamigawa to win the ticket to Koshien and represented District 20 of Tokyo to play in Koshien. Well, they lost in the first round of Koshien last year. I wonder how far they will go after a year of hard work. This is Uchida's last year as a pitcher. I'm sure he'll have the greatest desire to win. Mitsuaki, do your best. Mitsuaki's first hitter is also in position. Uchida Yuki took a deep breath and looked forward at the catcher. He lifted his leg and swung his arm. The moment the ball was released, the electronic screen showed the ball's speed, 146 kilometers per hour. The batter missed. "A good ball," the umpire shouted. 146. "Uchida is in good shape," the male host praised. "Yes," the female host said. Last year, Uchida threw 150 in the Koshien preliminaries and the Koshien finals. I wonder if he can break it this year. The second ball has been hit, but it's flying high. It's a high fly ball. Kamigawa's outfielder is in position. He's going to be caught. He's really caught. As expected of Uchida. This ball definitely counts. Sansong's first hitter is still too nervous. Sansong's first hitter left the field, and the second hitter jogged onto the field with a bat. "Kamigawa, come on." In a large area of the auditorium, the words Shan Chuan were displayed. The band was playing an impassioned marching song. On the other side, Sansong's support team didn't want to be outdone and shouted all over the place. The cheerleaders stood in the aisle and waved the colorful flowers in their hands. In the VIP seats, Toru Watanabe couldn't understand it at all. Why was the batter who had already run to first base out when the ball was hit? Catch. Did it mean the ball was caught in the air and the hitter was directly out? Toru Watanabe used to think that as long as the ball was hit high and didn't fall from the sky, the hitter could run from home base to first base, second base, third base, and finally return to home base to score a run. It seemed that the people who made the rules of baseball also considered the situation and made restrictions on high fly balls. It didn't matter if the hitter ran to first base, second base, or third base, as long as the ball was caught before it fell to the ground, the hitter was directly out. It might be difficult for ordinary people to catch a falling ball, but for a baseball team that had been trained since childhood, as long as they didn't make a mistake, it was almost certain that they could catch such a ball. The rules of baseball were more complicated than those of other sports. The basketball went through the hoop, the football went through the goal, and the tennis went through the net. Even people who didn't know the rules could understand these sports. Toru Watanabe glanced to his left. Except for him and Rin Kiyono, the other three seemed to know baseball. The two ladies kept whispering to each other. During this time, Uchida eliminated Sansong's second hitter. Sansong's 2 hitters are out. The situation is dangerous. I don't know if Sansong can withstand the pressure. He hit it. It's a ground ball. Can he get on base? The second baseman caught the ball and threw it hard to Osamu Kanai, who was on first base. Osamu Kanai had to catch the ball before the third hitter hit the bag. The moment the ball fell into Osamu Kanai's glove, the third hitter rushed to first base and touched it. Did it work? The man asked expectantly. It seems like the ball first. Safe. He got on base. The umpire said that Koi, who was on first base, left the bag to catch the ball. He was so close. What a pity. As expected of Sansong. His ability to get on base is strong. Sansong still has a chance. Come on. Now let's see Sansong's 4 hitters. If he's eliminated, Sansong will have 3 hitters out. They'll switch offense and defense, and Sansong's efforts will be in vain. As long as there's effort, it won't be in vain. It's this kind of hard work that makes a baseball game exciting. That's right. Okay, the hitter who successfully reached first base left the bag and made a stealing pose. He's interfering with Kamigawa's pitcher, Uchida. Unfortunately, Uchida was strong and confident. He didn't care about the 3 hitters on first base and struck out Sansong's 4 hitters. In the first half, Sansong's score was 0. Switching offense and defense, it was Sansong's turn to throw, and Kamigawa's turn to attack. What a pity. It's only the first inning. A baseball game will never end until the second half of the 9th inning. As Toru Watanabe watched, he combined the 2 commentators' words and slowly guessed the rules of baseball. In the 5th inning, the sun was scorching, and the air seemed to distort. The stadium was still in full swing, and the cheerleaders didn't stop for a moment. Miki Kujo said to Shizuru, who had recovered from her injury, "In the name of the Human Observation Department, send some ice and drinks to Kamigawa." Shizuru nodded and left the VIP seats. Is this buying people's hearts? Toru Watanabe asked. Just one sentence can make them feel grateful. They'll resent the fact that the Human Observation Department doesn't participate in the training, but they'll resent the fact that the Human Observation Department doesn't need to participate in the training. Why wouldn't they do it? Miki Kujo said indifferently. Kamigawa is an elite high school. Getting along well with the students will be helpful for their future? Toru Watanabe looked at her. Even if they don't get along well, will they give up on joining the Kujo family's company just because they hate me? You think too highly of them. Miki Kujo looked at him contemptuously. That makes sense. Toru Watanabe nodded. After they graduate, no matter what happens in high school, they'll be proud that President Kujo is their classmate. This was the reality. But in the name of the Human Observation Department, Kiyono's family will take advantage of them. Kujo's wife looked at Kiyono's wife. How exciting! Kiyono's wife watched the basketball court with great interest. Beside her, Rin Kiyono yawned elegantly. In the 6th round, Toru Watanabe saw through his binoculars that Kamigawa's students were eating popsicles and covering their faces with ice. In the 7th round, Kamigawa's support was much louder than Sansong's after they recovered. However, Sansong's team was worthy of being called the team that won 8 matches in a row. They were far from Aoyama High School's match. At the end of the 8th round, Kamigawa had 5 points and Sansong had 3 points. In the first half of the 9th round, Sansong will attack. There's still a chance. Come on. That's true, but the chances are slim. We'll get at least 2 points in this round and guarantee that Kamigawa won't score in the second half of the 9th round. It doesn't matter if we get 2 points. If we survive the second half, we can enter the 10th round. Look at Sansong's expression, they're very focused. No one gives up. Everyone please cheer for Sansong. Sansong, come on. 30,000 people shouted in unison. It seemed that even the basketball court trembled. After 8 innings, Uchida's face was red, and his baseball shirt was soaked with sweat. It was related to his place in Koshien, his 3 years of hard work, and all the people in Kamigawa who supported the baseball team. Even if he was temporarily in the lead, he was still nervous because of the pressure. In baseball, let alone 3 points, even an 8-point deficit in the last inning was reversed. It's okay, Uchida sighed. As long as I throw seriously and don't make mistakes, I can win the game. On the opposite side, Sansong's Ichigawa was constantly adjusting his grip and occasionally twisting his neck. No one wanted to lose. Sansong, come on. Even in the dense crowd, even in the 35-degree heat, Sansong's cheerleading team didn't stop. Amidst the cheers, Ichigawa adjusted his playing posture. Uchida put his fingers on the side of the ball. He raised his leg and swung his arm. His index and middle fingers moved the ball. Ichigawa focused all his attention. The ball with a speed of 143 km per hour seemed to slow down. The ball was spinning, and its trajectory was sideways. It was a slider. It would fall in the end. Good ball? Bad ball? Should he play? Could he hit the ball that was close to the ground? No. Don't rush. Don't rush. Steady. For a moment, the ball, which was faster than a car on the highway, fell into Kamigawa's catcher's glove. Sansong's Ichigawa didn't swing his bat. There was a short silence. Ichigawa! The umpire shouted. Ichigawa's head popped out of the water and he gasped for breath. After 2 breaths, he sank back into the water. It wasn't over yet. He was still at a disadvantage. He couldn't relax for a moment. His nervousness made Sansong's stomach twitch, and his hands and feet went numb. But when he adjusted his playing posture, the cheers, the scorching sun, and the discomfort in his body were all forgotten. There was only the ball in his eyes. Uchida caught the ball thrown back by the catcher and took a deep breath. He had dreamed of such a scene countless times. In the 9th inning, he would rely on his own pitching to strike out the opponent's batter under the cheers of the entire school's teachers and students, and receive the cheers of the audience. But, when it came to such a situation, he couldn't hear any cheers at all. As long as I can win, I'm willing to break my arm in Koshien. As long as I can win. Uchida prayed in his heart. He placed his fingers on the side of the ball and lifted his leg. The moment his foot touched the ground, he pulled his hands back and forth into a horizontal line, like a drawn bow. The moment he threw the ball, he swung his middle finger downwards. Ichigawa concentrated. The ball flew above the catcher's head, as if it was a deliberate foul ball. No, that wasn't right. If one ignored the front and back movements, the ball seemed to be spinning in place. It was a curveball. At the last moment, the ball would curve into the strike zone. Uchida's curveball will deviate slightly in the end. The coach's words came to mind. Without thinking, he swung the bat. Bam! It grazed. The ball rolled out. As soon as the commentator shouted, Ichigawa dropped the bat and rushed to first base. He gritted his teeth, the veins on his neck bulging. Hino! Go! Behind him came the shouts of the coaches. In front of him was Kamigawa's first baseman. He stared at the opponent's first baseman. A little faster, a little faster. Hino rushed past first base. The first baseman was still waiting for the ball. He was on base. He was on base. Keep running. Yoshikawa shouted. Keep running. He didn't have time to think. He didn't have time to consider if Kamigawa had made a mistake or if the ball had bounced irregularly. He believed in his teammates. Ah! Hino roared and rushed to second base. Come on! Everyone in the audience cheered. Just then, Kamigawa's left fielder finally caught the ball that had bounced irregularly. He twisted his body, raised his arm, and threw the ball to Osamu Kanai. Makoto. It was Yoshikawa's voice. He didn't think, he didn't look, he threw the ball to second base with his memory, experience, and 3 years of teamwork. Kamigawa's second baseman, Yoshikawa, had 1 foot on the second base bag. Forgetting everything else, he stretched his body and reached out with his gloved left hand. Catch it! Sansong's first baseman, Hino, saw the ball appear in his field of vision. He gritted his teeth, the muscles on his face trembling. Second base was right in front of him. He threw himself at it. Bam! The ball fell into Yoshikawa's glove. Beneath Yoshikawa's feet, Hino, who had been dreaming of Sansong's summer koshien, touched the base bag with his fingers. Hino couldn't control his speed. He spun around the base bag as if he was being swept away by a flood. But the base bag was like a life-saving pillar. No matter how hard he tried to fling himself away, his hand still clung to it. The stadium quieted down. Hino didn't even get up. He just lay on the ground, his hands still on the base bag. Silence. The umpire spread his arms and shouted, "Safe." As if a bomb had been detonated, the entire Shengong Stadium exploded with a boom. Sansong! Sansong! The audience cheered. All the students of Sansong stood up in excitement. Hino! Sansong! The cheers were no longer the same. Everyone was venting their emotions. This is amazing. This is amazing. This is not giving up. This is youth. This is koshien. The commentator was very excited. The 9th inning, the last inning, the last chance. Sansong's first baseman, Hino, has reached second base. He has a high chance of scoring. Sansong, do your best. Uchida, who was on the pitcher's mound, looked at Sansong's first baseman. The guy named Hino got up from the ground and put his hands on his knees. He panted heavily and stared at third base like a wolf. This is the last year. I will not lose. I will not allow myself to lose. Uchida caught the ball from the second baseman and turned around to look at the home plate. There, Sansong's second baseman was looking at him with the same look in his eyes. I can't lose. I can't lose. The sun seemed to be pulled in all of a sudden, and the fierce sunlight shone directly on his body. His vision started to blur. Uchida! Uchida! Kamigawa's players gathered around him. What's wrong? Uchida fainted. The commentator said nervously. Heat stroke? I heard that Uchida had a heat stroke. Ha! What will happen to Kamigawa now? This is the last game. The dream of koshien. 1 year of hard work. Uchida was carried back to the coach's seat and put on ice. Everyone in the coach's seat was worried, not only about Uchida's health, but also about the upcoming game. Xiang Yuan, you go. The coach's face darkened. Coach, The reliever named Xiang Yuan said hesitantly. You have no confidence. The coach shouted. Xiang Yuan was not the only one. Everyone was worried. This team had many hitters, but Uchida was the only good pitcher. He had worked hard in Kamigawa for 3 years. Everyone had faith in him. As for the relievers, the coach looked at everyone. We're still in the lead. So what if they overtake us? Can't we overtake them in the second half? Keep your spirits up. Go all out. Yes. Everyone shouted. Hirata. Here. The catcher shouted. Shout the slogan. Yes. The original 8 players and Uchida's substitute, Xiang Yuan, formed a circle around each other. The camera was aimed at them. 30,000 people were watching. Who doesn't have holidays and weekends? Hirata shouted. Us. The 8 players stood up and shouted. What time does training start in the morning? 6 o'clock. What time do we go back? Until we can't swing the bat. How long can we last? Starting from the beginning. Until today. Who will bear the honor of Kamigawa? Us. What should we do? Keep winning. Keep winning. Shongyuan shouted again. Keep winning. Everyone on the baseball team and Kamigawa shouted in unison. The camera changed to Sansong High School on the other side. The baseball players stacked their hands together. The more desperate we are. The captain shouted. The more we don't give up. The player shouted. Ah! Sansong High School shouted in unison. Their stacked hands pressed down hard. They put on their helmets, fastened their gloves, picked up their bats, and returned to the field. The game continued. Chapter 298. Both teams retake the field. Sansong is behind by 2 runs. Someone is on second base. 0 outs. Kamigawa is ahead by 2 runs. Their ace pitcher suffered a heat stroke at the critical moment. Can their reliever withstand the pressure? Kamigawa, Sansong, who can go to Hyogo Prefecture's Hanshin Koshien Stadium? Who can dominate Tokyo's 20th district? The commentator roared. In the 32 degrees high temperature, the audience cheered and hit the inflatable bats like crazy. Toru Watanabe clapped softly for the 2 team slogans just now. He had always seen the hard work of the Kamigawa Baseball Club. From Monday to Friday, they ran in the early morning every day. On Saturday and Sunday, as long as he went there, he could see them training on the field. He didn't know how well Sansong was doing, but to be able to play all the way to the district finals, he must have suffered a lot. Jinji, Mrs. Kiyono said with a smile, do you want to make a bet? What are we betting on? Mrs. Kujo was interested. Well, the loser will bark like a dog? Which team do you bet on? Sansong. I like the reversal. Mrs. Kiyono smiled. If you don't want to admit it, give me your sapphire necklace. Okay. The 2 ladies raised their tender hands and high-fived each other. The applause was crisp and clear. They were having fun. Ah! Sansong hit again. Now there are people on first and third base. He's about to score. Mrs. Kiyono pretended to be surprised. Jinji, do you want to switch? You can bet on Sansong. Thank you, but I like Kamigawa. Mrs. Kujo looked past her daughter and winked at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe opened his fan and fanned Miki Kujo. Miki Kujo first looked at him, then at the fan. This is a fan passed down in the Kujo family. No matter how good the fan is, it's just a decoration if it can't fan Miki. It's just a decoration. You too. Kujo Jinji was dissatisfied. How can you say that the things of our ancestors are just decorations? Sansong scored. Toru Watanabe pointed at the court. Mrs. Kujo looked over and saw Sansongi, who had been running with all his might, running past home plate. He was high-fiving his teammates in the technical area with a face full of excitement. 4 points. Mrs. Kiyono's satisfied voice sounded. On the scoreboard in the distance, Sansong's total score jumped from 3 to 4. What is that reliever Kamigawa doing? Mrs. Kujo asked unhappily. Not only her, but the Kamigawa fans and Kamigawa students were also dissatisfied. What's the situation now? Toru Watanabe asked Miki Kujo in a low voice. This reliever has a bad mentality, Miki Kujo said. Can you be more specific? Miki Kujo turned her head to look at him. Toru Watanabe stared at her with an ignorant expression. Miki Kujo rolled her eyes at him and patiently explained, there are 2 games in a game. One side can only enter the next game if 3 players are eliminated. Do you understand? Yes, yes. Toru Watanabe continued to fan her. In other words, as long as Sansongi doesn't eliminate 3 players, he can keep scoring. Kamigawa has a bad mentality. He can't handle the pressure at key moments, and almost all of his pitches are hit. But as long as the defender gets the ball in advance, even if the ball is hit, he can't score. That's right. Miki Kujo laughed. I'm afraid that this pitcher's mentality will completely collapse, and he'll lose control of the ball. He'll keep throwing bad pitches and get on base. Get on base with a walk? What do you mean? Toru Watanabe asked. Miki Kujo turned her head to look at the field and said, "That's it." Toru Watanabe looked over. 4 bad pitches. The umpire shouted. At that moment, a roar swept through the stadium. Kamigawa's 9 players had ugly expressions. Amidst the silent cheerleaders, Sansongi's hitter walked from home plate to first base, the first base player walked to second base, the second base player walked to third base, and the third base player walked back to home plate. On the scoreboard, Sansongi's score, 5. Ah! Sansongi! 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 The stadium went crazy. The score was completely tied. So far, Sansongi still has 0 outs. The male commentator roared. And it's a full base. Every base has someone on it. They can definitely continue to score. The female commentator was excited. Kamigawa's relievers must adjust their mentality. That's right. This is related to a spot in Koshien. Everyone has worked hard since they were young. Do your best. On the big screen, all of Kamigawa's teachers and students were confused. Some were angry. Some were waving inflatable baseballs and shouting at the field. On the field, first baseman Osamu Kanai wiped his sweat with his sleeve. Next to him, Sansongi's baseball player looked excited. He was ready to sprint at any time. His movements were full of hope and motivation. 4 bad pitches. The umpire shouted again. They've overtaken them. Someone is going to bark like a dog. Kiyono's wife said with a smile. In Toru Watanabe's line of sight, Osamu Kanai's teammate from Sansongi High School was waving his fists vigorously and jogging excitedly to second base. On the scoreboard, Sansongi's score, 6 Kamigawa's score, 5-inch 4 bad pitches again. A walk to load the bases? Toru Watanabe asked. I told you earlier that this reliever's ability to handle pressure is too bad. Miki Kujo said with a smile. The two of them were so close that Toru Watanabe could feel the warmth of her breath through his face. Toru Watanabe couldn't help but sigh. A few strands of Miki Kujo's black hair gently floated in front of her forehead. What's wrong? She asked with a smile. Are you upset that Kamigawa is about to lose? After all, I'm also a student of Kamigawa. If the starting pitcher doesn't get heat stroke, this world always belongs to the winner. No one will consider the reason for the loser's loss. Don't worry. Mrs. Kujo's face was gloomy. Even if the score is overtaken, Kamigawa can still come back in the second half. They only got 5 runs in the first 8 innings. Do you expect them to overtake them in the last inning? Mrs. Kiyono said with a smile. Sansongi only got 3 runs in the first 8 innings. Maybe the pitcher also got heat stroke? Mrs. Kujo replied with a smile. Remember to bark like a dog. Mrs. Kiyono pointed at Mrs. Kujo with her left index finger and said happily. Humph. Mrs. Kujo snatched the fan from Toru Watanabe's hand and fanned herself vigorously. Among the 5 people present, only Rin Kiyono stayed out of the game. She asked for a cup of ice cream with fruit and biscuits on top. She ate them slowly with a spoon. The game continued under the hot sun. On the pitcher's mound, Kamigawa's reliever stood there with a blank look on his face. In the stadium of 30,000 people, except for Kamigawa's own support team, everyone was cheering for Sansongi. Everyone longed for a comeback. They longed for an exciting game. No one cared about the reliever. No one cared about Kamigawa's starting pitcher getting heat stroke. No one cared about whether Kamigawa won or lost. Except for Kamigawa's baseball team and all of Kamigawa's teachers and students. On the electronic screen, Ishitani, who was responsible for the flute in the flute department, was wiping her tears with her sleeves. Beside her, the boy who was responsible for the percussion was beating the drum vigorously and cheering for Kamigawa's baseball team on the field. The cheerleading team was in the aisle. They were drenched in sweat, but they still raised their legs and waved the colored balls in their hands. The physical education teacher was holding a loudspeaker and was organizing all the teachers and students to raise the signboard in their hands to form the 2 huge words, "Victory," again. But Ah! He got hit again. Sansongi gets another run. Total score 6. Is it really going to be a comeback? Is Kamigawa's summer coming to an end? In the audience, all of Sansongi's teachers and students cheered. They hugged each other and high-fived each other. Sansongi! Sansongi! The sound of support was earth-shattering. Kamigawa's coach's seat. The reserve team members looked at the field in a daze. They opened their mouths foolishly, like lost people in the desert, looking at an empty water bottle and hoping for the last drop of water to drip out. Yukiko. Dad. Kobayashi Yukiko opened her eyes and put her hands together in a praying position. Do you have it? Watanabe's team uniform? Dad? He's in the VIP seats. Go. Kobayashi Yukiko's surprised eyes gradually turned into determination. She let go of her praying hands and picked up the bag with the Toru Watanabe's team uniform. Yes, coach. She rushed and left the field to find a miracle for Kamigawa. Hurry up, Yukiko. The coach clenched his trembling hands. VIP seats. Woof. Woof. Mrs. Kiyono looked at Mrs. Kujo's face and said cutely, woof woof. Mrs. Kujo closed her fan and hit her on the head. Hee. Mrs. Kiyono barked like a dog and was hit, but she was very happy. On the other hand, Mrs. Kujo's face was ugly even though she heard the dog bark and hit someone. Looks like they're going to lose, Toru Watanabe said. Wasting my time. Miki Kujo was also a little unhappy. Toru Watanabe looked at the baseball field. Sansong scored again. Sansong, 7 Kamigawa. 5 on the screen. Kamigawa's reliever was breathing hard like a fish stranded on land. If he was on the field, he could end Sansong's scoring and let the game enter the next inning. Kamigawa still had a chance to turn the tables. But, in the baseball team of more than 100 people, in order to be in the starting lineup, in order to stand in the finals, in order to dream of Koshien, whether it was Kamigawa or Sansong, they had sweated a lot and overcome a lot of hardships since they were young to get to where they were today. Winning or losing was their youth. Was he going to interfere and make their sweat and efforts meaningless just for his own comfort? Watanabe. Toru Watanabe turned his head and looked at Rin Kiyono across Miki Kujo and the 2 wives. What's the matter? Tetsumasa Watanabe was about to ask when someone came over and whispered to him. Young Master Watanabe, someone is looking for you. Looking for me? Yes, she says she's the manager of Kamigawa's baseball team. Toru Watanabe fell silent. He wanted to refuse, but Kobayashi had helped him a few times. No matter what, he couldn't refuse to meet her. He stood up and walked toward the VIP seats. But even if he met her, what could he do? The VIP seats couldn't get any sunlight. Kobayashi Yujiko ran over. It could be easily seen from her undulating chest, flushed face, sweaty temples, and the clothes stuck to her back. Kuin Watanabe. Her eyes were full of surprise and joy as she shouted with her last hope. I'm sorry. Toru Watanabe looked at her. I don't plan to play. But I'm sorry. Toru Watanabe cut her off. The light in Kobayashi Yujiko's eyes disappeared as she stared at him blankly. At the VIP seats that couldn't get any sunlight, she felt cold all over and her mind went blank. Come in and rest for a while? There's air conditioning inside. After watching the final game, trust in Koi and the others, Toru Watanabe said. Kobayashi Yujiko came back to her senses and looked at Toru Watanabe in front of her. His face was fair and handsome, without any trace of a tan. His lips were red, without any teeth marks left behind when he was unwilling to give up. His new t-shirt revealed his collarbone slightly, without a single drop of sweat. His voice was clear and pleasant. He wasn't in a hurry and didn't shout loudly. His neck was clean and slender, without any ugly blue veins. At this moment, Kobayashi Yujiko remembered Uchida's dark face, Yoshikawa's bitten lips, Masaki's sweat-soaked uniform, and Koi's ear-piercing and noisy roars. I'm going back, Kobayashi Yujiko said. I want to go back. Okay. Toru Watanabe nodded. No matter if you win or lose, do your best and leave no regrets. Please help me pass this message to Koi and everyone in the baseball club. Okay. Toru Watanabe watched Kobayashi Yujiko turn around. He saw the luggage bag in her arms and her soaked clothes. She walked out of the dim entrance tunnel and into the corridor where the sun was shining, ready to run. Kobayashi. Kobayashi Yujiko turned around and looked past Toru Watanabe to Rin Kiyono, who was behind him. Why are you here? Toru Watanabe turned around and asked. I want to say something. Rin Kiyono stood there with her arms crossed. The hot and turbid air in the corridor seemed to have become clear. Kiyono-san, please help me persuade Kun Watanabe. Kobayashi Yujiko shouted. Sorry, that's not what I'm here to say, Rin Kiyono said. But you can wait for a while. After that, she turned to look at Toru Watanabe. No matter what you say, I won't play. Toru Watanabe looked at her. I'm about to fall asleep watching a baseball game. No matter who wins or loses, I just want it to end quickly. Do you think I'll persuade you? Then you? Toru Watanabe. You're calling me by my full name. Looks like you're quite something. Rin Kiyono ignored Toru Watanabe's joke and stared into his eyes with a stern but beautiful gaze. Toru Watanabe slowly withdrew the smile in his eyes. Kobayashi Yujiko stood in the sun and looked at the two of them helplessly and with extravagant hope. After a moment of silence, Rin Kiyono spoke. Compared to thinking about others, don't you have something that you want to do first? Something that I want to do first. You want to kill Miki Kujo because of your parents. You want to be faithful because of my Asahi's life and Aona Koizumi's 10 years of hard work. You want to be with me because of them. You've always been living for others. Don't you think about yourself? These are all my own decisions. Why haven't I thought about myself? Because you've decided to become the Tokyo handsome guy and only do what you should do. You use this to restrict yourself. But before becoming the Tokyo handsome guy, you're yourself first. What did you say when you were facing Miki Kujo in the school's gymnasium? What? You said that you'll be the one standing at the top. That was just a joke. Toru Watanabe was expressionless. Just like what was written on the enrollment form, I want the world to bow down to me. Lies. Rin Kiyono's cold and stern voice sounded. In the dark tunnel, there was a long silence. They could hear the cheers and shouts from the gymnasium. Toru Watanabe looked at Rin Kiyono, and Rin Kiyono looked back at him. Rin Kiyono was able to see through lies since she was 4 years old. With her clever mind, she mastered the ability to see through phenomena and understand the essence of human nature. This ability made her, who hated lies, reject everyone, be it family or friends. She was cold and heartless, except for Toru Watanabe. She took the initiative to think about what he was thinking, understood any of his worries, and knew that there were many things between them that couldn't be expressed in words. Let me see. Rin Kiyono's calm voice sounded as if it came from far away. The most arrogant side of you, the real and unrestrained you. Toru Watanabe looked at Kobayashi Yukiko who was behind him. There was the summer sun, the burning gaze, sweat, tears, and dreams. Do you know what will happen to this Kamiya Stadium if I don't do what I'm supposed to do? I don't know, so please show it to me. Kobayashi-san, Toru Watanabe said. Here. Jersey. Toru Watanabe held out his hand. Okay. Kobayashi Yukiko wiped her tears and took out the jersey from her luggage. I don't care what happens. Toru Watanabe took the jersey that was stained with tears. Behind him, Rin Kiyono said, No matter what happens, I want you to live for yourself once in a while, even if it's just a meaningless baseball game. Then please take a good look, my Kiyono-san. Toru Watanabe put his hands into the jersey, and his clothes fluttered. I'll tell you what it means to stand at the top. Toru Watanabe walked against the light, into the blazing sun, and walked towards the stadium. There, the Kamaya Stadium that was the center of attention, the efforts, regrets, joy, dreams, tears, everything would become worthless. Kobayashi Yukiko bowed to Rin Kiyono and followed Toru Watanabe. You have a new email. Temporary event completed. Charm X1. Aura. Insufferably arrogant. Player receives aura. Insufferably arrogant. You have a new email. Temporary event. July 28, 3:03. You identify with Kamigawa, sympathize with Kobayashi Yukiko, and finally, because of Rin Kiyono's words, you decide to go to the Kamaya Stadium. Event content. In the most desperate summer, defeat all the most talented and hard-working baseball players in this year's Koshien with absolute advantage. Event time. Koshien ends. Event reward. 50% off Stamina Voucher X1, 50% off Charm Voucher X1, 50% off Intelligence Voucher X1, 1 billion yen. Kobayashi. Here. Score again. 8 points. The miracle is Sansong. The commentator shouted. Sansong. 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 30,000 people united as one. Among these voices, Toru Watanabe finally arrived at the entrance of the stadium. He stepped on the ground and looked at the other team's baseball team who were high-fiving each other, the cheering teachers and students of Sansong High School, and the fanatical audience. Let them despair. Kobayashi Yukiko wiped away her tears and said with a smile, yes. Chapter 299. Rin Kiyono watched Toru Watanabe until he disappeared at the end of the corridor. She turned around and returned to the VIP seats. Where did he go? Mrs. Kiyono asked. Where's Watanabe? Miki Kujo looked behind her. Mrs. Kujo glanced at her daughter. She couldn't bear to leave Seiji's side. He went to persuade Watanabe-san to do something that he wants to do, even if it's not good for others or irresponsible. Rin Kiyono sat down in her seat and looked at the field. From the moment she entered the Shengong Stadium until now, her expression could be considered serious. Miki Kujo frowned slightly. Then, she sneered and looked at Kamigawa's manager's seat. Kuan Watanabe is going to play? Mrs. Kiyono asked curiously. Yeah. Rin Kiyono nodded. He's going to show me what it means to be above everyone else. Oh. Mrs. Kiyono covered her mouth. He's going to play at such a crucial moment. He has the temperament of a king. That's right. Mrs. Kujo smiled mischievously. My precious son can't bear to see his mother lose, so he's going to play. You fake mother, prepare to bark like a dog. Although he's my son, I don't think he'll be able to turn Kamigawa's defeat into a victory, Mrs. Kiyono said. At this moment. Oh. The male commentator was surprised. Kamigawa's manager is going to the pitcher's mound. The game is temporarily paused. Is he communicating with the pitcher, or is he going to switch the pitcher? The female commentator guessed. No matter which one it is, it's the right decision. The reliever in front of us obviously has a problem with his mentality. He's lost his ability to control the ball. Okay, I heard that he's switching pitchers. Let's look forward to Kamigawa's third pitcher. Let's see if this relief pitcher can end Sansong's offense and let the game enter the second half. VIP seats. Miki-san, Rin Kiyono revealed a contemptuous smile. Please take a good look at Toru Watanabe's most arrogant side, the real, unrestrained side of him. Miki Kujo tilted her head and said casually, I'm looking forward to it. During the short substitution time, the male commentator exclaimed, what an exciting match. Yeah, Sansong proved what it means to be hot-blooded. What was struggle? What do you mean by creating a miracle? You've become a fan of Sansong. Yes. The more difficult the situation was, the more one would not give up. This was not just a slogan. They still want to continue scoring. With the female commentator's excited voice, the atmosphere in the stadium was reignited. Sansong. Good luck. The relief pitcher is in position. Let's continue. As the male commentator spoke, The camera zoomed in on the pitcher's mound. Toru Watanabe's figure was displayed on the large electronic screen above the outfield seats. It was easy to not take Sansong seriously. Unparalleled confidence. He looked down on everyone's arrogance. Insufferably arrogant. He stepped on the pitcher's mound as if he was stepping on a corpse. He looked around at the 30,000 spectators as if to say, "You're the ones who will be stepped on next." Everyone fell into a short silence. Even if there were 30,000 people on the other side of the stadium, they still did not dare to speak loudly. They were frightened by the man's imposing manner. The young man on the pitcher's mound suddenly pointed at all the teachers and students of Kanagawa High School. There was a short silence. Then, the originally chaotic, restless Kanagawa High School. "Ah!" A boy raised his arm and roared. "Watanabe! Watanabe! Watanabe! Watanabe!" More than 1,000 people's voices merged into one. The roar was like a tsunami. It was almost crazy. The young man on the pitcher's mound retracted his hand and looked down at the Sansong High School hitter at home plate. This is quite popular." The male commentator stuttered. "He looks very handsome. A very confident pitcher. I'm looking forward to his performance. Can he turn the tables again?" The female commentator shouted. Only then did the rest of the spectators come to their senses. "Sansong! Sansong! Sansong!" Sansong High School support team roared, unwilling to be outdone. The game seemed to be in suspense again. The spectators' emotions were ignited. They hit the inflatable bats in their hands and shouted with all their might. "Smart, strong, handsome, the synonym of perfection. I can't believe there's such a charming man in the world." Mrs. Kiyono sighed. "He fits the image of a husband that I painted in my heart when I was 15. Mrs. Kujo was also full of praise. Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe on the pitcher's mound, enjoying the crowd's cheers, and her eyes flashed. "Do you have anything to say, Miki?" Rin Kiyono said in a victorious tone. She was the one who made Toru Watanabe like this. "Do you want to know?" Miki Kujo turned to look at her and said with a smile. Without waiting for Rin Kiyono's reply, she moved her delicate and elegant face closer, and her delicate and seductive lips touched Rin Kiyono's ear. "Delicious," she whispered in a low voice, and her hot breath hit Rin Kiyono's ear. Rin Kiyono didn't avoid her and coldly glanced at her. Miki Kujo left her with a cruel and impatient smile on her face. She was looking forward to tonight. Jingong Stadium, Kamikawa Yukibu played "The Laurel Shines for You" again. They had absolute trust in the youth who had single-handedly conquered everyone at the National Blowing Music Competition last year. Their music was majestic, and the cheers of the other teachers and students became more and more intense. In Kanagawa High School, there were those who liked Toru Watanabe, those who didn't have a good impression of him, and those who hated him. But no matter if it was admiration, hatred, or contempt, there was one thing that Kanagawa High School didn't doubt, and that was that Toru Watanabe was a true genius. As long as he didn't lose, Kamigawa wouldn't lose. The Kamigawa teachers and students put down their signboards and gave up on training for the week. They stood up and shouted the name of the youth on the field. "Watanabe! Watanabe!" Aona Koizumi looked at the pitcher's mound excitedly. He was the person who truly shouldered the glory of Kamigawa, the person she liked. Amidst the cheers, Toru Watanabe pressed down on his baseball cap and couldn't help but smile. "Kamigawa, my alma mater." Then, "Sansong, I'm sorry." He raised his head, carrying the expectations of everyone in Kamigawa. This summer, even if Lady Luck does not favor Kamigawa. But it won't end here. Regarding the promise of midsummer, if you don't want it to end, I will fulfill it for you. Fate, no matter what your original plan was, reverse it for me. Toru Watanabe lifted the ball with both hands, lifted his leg, and swung his arm. It was a powerful throw. The piercing sound of the wind. Bang! The ball fell into the catcher's glove. Beep! On the electronic screen, 165 kilometers per hour. A good shot. The referee's lonely and empty voice rang out. The stadium was as quiet as a heavy snow. Then, his throat was about to burst, and his saliva was splattering everywhere. 165. 165. It's new in Koshian. The commentator's voice was muffled. Did you see that? Did you see that? Aona Koizumi excitedly pulled the swaying stick. I see it, I see it. Huang Zi pulled his t-shirt that was about to fall off while waving the inflatable bat excitedly. Watanabe. 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 Their conversation was almost inaudible amid the fanatical cheers of Kamigawa. Ah! The other 8 Kamigawa roared at Toru Watanabe. No matter how excited or hot-blooded they were, they could not express their feelings at this moment. Watanabe. Osamu Kanai's neck bulged with blue veins. He was so excited that he wanted to rush over and punch Toru Watanabe. The camera panned to the youth on the pitching mound. The catcher was coming over with the ball and saying something to him. He didn't say anything. He just patted the other party's shoulder. This simple action made the audience even more excited. He looked arrogant, too handsome, not athletic at all. He had no passion and did not take his opponents seriously. Even so, people still worshipped him. This was what it meant to be strong. He was born to enjoy everyone's cheers. After the cheers, the second ball came. Beep. 166 kmh. Good second ball. Oh! The audience exclaimed in unison. Anyone who knew anything about baseball held their breath. What did that mean? This kind of speed would not change the ball's trajectory, but the power of the ball itself was intimidating. What was power of the ball? A hard ball at 166 km per hour would go straight for the head. If it hit the head, even if the player was wearing a helmet, there would be intracranial hemorrhage. If the player was not treated immediately, he would definitely die on the field. Facing Toru Watanabe's pitching was no longer a game of baseball. It was a test of life and death. This was power of the ball. Kuroda. Don't be scared. Everyone in the Samsung's technical area shouted at the hitter in the hitter's box. Kuroda looked back at the crowd, then at the man on the pitching mound. He swallowed hard. Was it really worth risking his life for a game? It was. And as long as the ball hit him, it would be a contact ball. Everyone in Samsung's would walk to load the bases and score another run. Even if he had to stay in the hospital, even if he had to study, he could not avoid it. Come on. Kuroda gripped his bat tightly and yelled at the boy on the pitching mound. At that moment, from the corner of his eye, he saw Kamigawa's pitcher move his glove and place it under his arm. If the 165 km per hour ball was aimed here, if he lost control of the ball, if it hit the arm, the bone would be broken. If it hit the stomach, would it penetrate? Or the jaw? Would all his teeth fall out? What will happen? Someone tell me. Beep. 165 kmh. Damn it. Kuroda was filled with anger at himself. Not only did he not swing his bat, he even dodged. Strike out. 3 balls. All of them are above 165 km per hour. The female commentator had lost her mind. Then, the male commentator shouted out everyone's thoughts. Monster. The girls of Kanagawa High School cried tears of joy. Even though they had only eliminated 1 hitter, they still had to eliminate 2 more to end the game. Even if they ended the game, they would still be 3 points behind and in danger. But, as a member of Kamigawa, as long as they saw the young man on the pitching mound who looked down on everyone else, they would be filled with confidence. Monster. My senior. My classmate. My junior. My student. We've talked before. We've met in the hallway. We've been opponents at the sports meet. We've given out flyers together at the cultural festival. They're from our school. Kamigawa's Watanabe. 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 At that moment, Toru Watanabe raised his hand and gestured for them to be quiet. It was not just Kamigawa. The 30,000 spectators, the wind, the dust, everything seemed to have stopped. In the silence, Toru Watanabe waved his fist at the sky. Kamigawa! His roar echoed in the sky. Ah! Kamigawa! 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 Mountains roared and tsunamis roared. The sky fell and the earth cracked. The wind began to blow, and the sun became fiercer. Everyone stood up. Kamigawa affected everyone present. Even if they did not understand the game, even if they did not hear what Toru Watanabe said clearly, they would be swept away by the atmosphere. Kamigawa! 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 Beep. 164 kmh. One good ball. Beep. 166 kmh. Two good balls. Beep. 164 kmh. Strike 3. 2 out. His momentum was unstoppable. Too scary. Too scary. After throwing a ball at 165 miles per hour, the next ball is still 165. Monster. Monster. What is his arm made of? I can already see the dark clouds above Koshien Stadium. That's Kamigawa. It's this relief pitcher named Toru Watanabe. His straight ball will become the nightmare of all high school hitters. Sansong has one last hitter left. One good ball. The ball speed is still 165. Two good balls. Last one. Sansong High School's third base risked his life and started to steal. Can he get a run from the monster? Sansong. Last ball. Beep. 167 kmh. The catcher who caught the ball did not care about his numb hand. He turned around and pounced on the Sansong player who was trying to steal. Ah, the Sansong player almost fell to his death and pounced on the home plate. Out. Change offense and defense. The umpire shouted. Ah. Shanchuan's 8 members roared madly. Finally, it was Kamigawa's turn to fight back. It's amazing. The commentator gasped for air, then shouted, 3 points. From a 2-point lead to a 3-point deficit. It's also the last game. Kamigawa, do you have a solution? The players all left the field. Tetsumasa Watanabe walked back to the manager's seat. The people in the manager's seat were all on the internet, wanting to say hello to him. He walked over. The camera lens was focused on him. Watanabe. Everyone from Kanagawa High School squeezed forward, wanting to high-five him. Toru Watanabe clapped hands one by one. Among them, there was Aona Koizumi, Huang Zi, and even the PE teacher excitedly reaching out their hands. After high-fiving Kamigawa's classmates, there was a child in front of him. His face was pressed against the net, his flesh divided into squares, and he reached out his hand with all his might. Toru Watanabe walked over and gave him a high five. The child smiled happily. He was still in the tooth growth period, so a few missing teeth were exposed to the camera lens. Mom. Mom. He hugged his mother excitedly. The child's mother looked at him happily. Toru Watanabe took off his baseball cap and threw it into the sky. The baseball cap flew over the high net and landed in the child's arms. It's yours. After saying that, Toru Watanabe walked back to the manager's seat. Ah! The child put the baseball cap on his head and was so excited that his legs kept jumping around. Everyone laughed when they saw this scene. Aona Koizumi looked at the child proudly. She wanted to tell him and everyone else that Toru Watanabe was hers. However, she couldn't say it. She could only tug on Huang Zi and Miyuki's clothes. She couldn't say it, but someone else could. He's mine, Miki Kujo said to Rin Kiyono as she pointed at Toru Watanabe, who was walking towards the manager's seat. It's because of me that he showed this side of him. Yep, he's mine. Rin Kiyono's expression was gloomy. Ah. Mrs. Kiyono controlled her excitement. Kuan Watanabe is so charming. Even I want to marry him. You old hag, You can't even compare to your own daughter, and you want to compete with my Mickey." Mrs. Cujo was in a good mood. "I'll wait for you to bark like a dog, Rin." Mrs. Kiyono reached out to her daughter. "You have to avenge your mother. You won't have a chance." Mrs. Cujo chuckled. Rin couldn't win over Mickey, and between Mickey and Shinheim, Tsuchikuen chose Shinheim, so Rin has even less of a chance. Mickey Cujo looked at her mother. "Just kidding." Mrs. Cujo fanned herself. "Let's continue watching the game. It's not over yet." At the manager's seat, Kuen Watanabe. Tears welled up in Kobayashi Yukiko's eyes. She clenched her fists so tightly that fingernail marks could be seen on her palms. "Watanabe-san." The reliever bowed deeply. "For Kamigawa," Toru Watanabe said. "For Kamigawa." The catcher, Hirata, raised his arms and roared. "For Kamigawa." Everyone roared. The sun shone down on them, making them dizzy. Their skin was burning, and the burning sensation was spreading. However, they had been entrusted with something, and they had dreams that they wanted to fulfill. They couldn't stop here. They wanted to see further, and they wanted to walk longer. "Watanabe." The coach stood up and walked up to Toru Watanabe. He looked at Toru Watanabe. "How's your batting?" There were also change-ups for pitching. All you had to do was hit the ball, so, "I'm a little better than pitching," Toru Watanabe answered. "Ah." Uchida is the sixth batter. Kobayashi Yukiko's face paled. "What are you panicking for?" The coach's face was dark. "You've all seen how good Watanabe is. No matter what, you have to hold on until the sixth batter." "Yes, sir." The coach looked at everyone. If possible, he didn't want to say something like that. He would rather say that he believed in his own hard work. However, the last game concerned Kamigawa's glory and Koshien's dream. He needed someone who could calm his teammates down and fill them with confidence. If everyone had known how good Toru Watanabe was as a pitcher, then as long as he sat in the manager's seat, the relievers would not have made a mistake and the players would not have panicked. Baseball was also a battle of mentality. On the other side, 9 players from Samsung Electronics entered the field. It was their turn to eliminate Kamigawa's hitters. "Come on! Come on!" The cheerleaders from both sides were in a mess. The audience was waiting anxiously. The fire in their hearts had been ignited. Reverse, reverse, reverse again. Could it continue? Kamigawa's first batter was Osamu Kunai. The pitcher from Samsung Electronics looked at the man in front of him. He was a very strong hitter. Was he going to steadily get on base? Osamu Kunai held his bat and stared at the pitcher's mound. After experiencing despair, there was hope. Whether they could win or not, whether they could go to Koshien, now it was his turn to decide. No, it was just the first batter. It didn't matter. However, as long as he got on base, his teammates behind him would continue to get on base. Base after base, victory would be accumulated in this way. Baseball was never a game for one person. The pitcher from Samsung Electronics raised his leg and threw the ball. Beep. 141 km/h. The average professional pitcher's throwing speed was very fast. Gua Jinshan's bat missed. "Good ball." The umpire shouted. Gua Jinshan took a deep breath. The second ball was a tricky ball. He didn't swing his bat. The third ball. Beep. 139 km/h. It was the second half of the 9th inning. He had just thrown 2 balls, but he could still reach 139 km/h. Samsung Electronics pitcher was really strong. However, bam! "It's a hit!" the commentator shouted. The ball flew between the third baseman and the second baseman. Osamu Kunai didn't care about anything. He let go and his bat fell to the ground. He rushed toward the first base. Samsung Electronics shortstop caught it. "Start passing the ball. Can Kamigawa's bat make it in time?" "Ah!" Samsung Electronics shortstop threw the ball toward the first baseman. "Ah!" Osamu Kanai also roared and rushed toward the first base. Safe. He's on base. Osamu Kanai got up from the ground and immediately got into position. He stared at the second base. His heart was beating very fast. He was so close. If he was a little late, he might miss a day of his usual long-distance running and be eliminated. The audience couldn't sit still and stood up one after another. Kamigawa's second bat. Oh no, the left fielder. The pitcher from Samsung Electronics cracked his neck. Ono swung the bat with all his might, looking for the feeling. When he rested the bat on his left shoulder, the game began. The pitcher raised his leg and threw the ball. Bam! The moment he heard the sound, Osamu Kanai rushed out with a whoosh. However, he stopped after running a few steps and returned to the first base. Foul ball. The second ball. The pitcher from Samsung Electronics placed his fingers behind the ball. It was a cutter ball that would be far away from the batter. Ono swung the bat down. Bam! It's hit again. It's over. It's a high fly ball. Can Samsung Electronics outfielder catch it? He caught it. Kamigawa is out. There's someone at the first base. Ono stared at the ball for a while before walking back to the manager's seat. I'm sorry. Ono, you've done your best. Although he was so nervous that his hands and feet were numb and his heart was beating so fast that he couldn't breathe, Kobayashi Yuji still encouraged him. The pitcher on the other side is already very strong. He won't become easy in the last inning. The coach said in a deep voice, whether you can win or not, whether you can enter Koshien, now, it's up to you. Hold on until the sixth batter. Yamamoto. Yes. Yamamoto, as Kamigawa's third batter, took the bat onto the field. Third baseman Yamamoto, Kamigawa's third batter. Come on. Kamigawa. Kamigawa. Sansong. Sansong. The cheerleaders waved the colored balls. They were obviously exhausted, but they still refused to stop. The students who shouted hoarsely also continued to cheer for their respective baseball teams with hoarse voices. Yamamoto held the bat and looked at Samsung Electronics pitcher, who was relaxing his arms and relieving his fatigue. The opponent was very strong. In the first 8 innings, he only hit him twice. He was already in his third year, and this was his last chance. No matter what, he couldn't lose. If you can't hit the pitcher's ball, it's either that you don't have enough practice, or you don't have talent. He remembered the coach's reprimand when he was in his first year. That day, they lost in the second-to-last game of the qualifiers. I don't have talent. I was poached from Kochi Prefecture. Didn't I practice enough? After training, I'm the only one left on the field waving the bat. So, hit him out. Yamamoto waved the bat. Bam! It hit him. Run. He could no longer hear the voices of his teammates behind him. In front of him, at the first base, Osamu Kanai had already rushed to the second base, and he was rushing to the first base. Ah! It was Osamu Kanai's roar. This idiot, he had been scolding him since he was in his first year. If he kept roaring while running, he would only be slower. If he roared too much, it would lead to a lack of oxygen supply and reduce his sprinting efficiency. Did he even take him, a senior, seriously? After he retired from the baseball team, how could he be assured to hand over the baseball team to such an unreliable guy? But, this was Kamigawa's last chance. Let's work hard in our own way. Yamamoto's face was calm, and his running posture was standard. If it weren't for the sound of his footsteps, the muscles on his face would have made him look like a robot. Safe. The umpire shouted. There are people at the first and second bases. Kamigawa is going to reverse the situation. Can a miracle happen again? Very good. The coach waved his hand fiercely. 4 bats, 5 bats. As long as one of you can get on base and push down the order, Watanabe can finish it. We'll win. We can go to Koshien. Understand? Yes. 4 bats took their bats, took a deep breath, and went on the field. One person had already been eliminated. If he was eliminated as well, Kamigawa would only have one elimination spot left, and the situation would reach a cliff. Moreover, this was under the condition that Yamamoto and Koi, who were already on base, were not eliminated. One good ball. His mind was blank, as if he was about to be swallowed by the heat wave. The tension of the competition was like a sharp knife cutting through his skin. Two good balls. Damn it, it was clearly a bad ball. Why did he have to swing his bat? In the audience, the cheers of the entire school seemed to have escaped. He couldn't hit it. He swallowed hard, trying to suppress his nervousness. Calm down, calm down. As long as he was calm, the opponent's ball would definitely strike out. Out. The umpire's voice rang out. He didn't know how he returned to the coach's seat. He just sat there blankly. Kobayashi Yujiko seemed to be saying something to him. In the distance, Toru Watanabe seemed to be talking to 5 bats. He couldn't hear anything. He was going to lose. His efforts were wasted. Kamigawa has eliminated 2. There's only one elimination spot left. There's no way out. Kamigawa. 5 bats must withstand the pressure. The 2 players who are already on base must not make a mistake and be eliminated. Will there be a miracle? In the audience, some girls from Kanagawa High School were already crying. Advantages, heatstroke, disadvantages, struggling back, but in the end, were they still going to lose? Come on! They shouted with a sobbing tone. Sansong! Sansong! Sansong High School's cheers were neat and full of energy. 5 bats was on the field. He wasn't the strongest hitter. If the 3 strongest hitters from the baseball club were chosen, no one would vote for him. One good ball. That bastard Koi squeezed him out of the top 4 in his second year. One bad ball. He was also poached from another prefecture. He left his hometown and didn't even enter Koshien. How could he face his classmates from his hometown? 2 good balls. Yamamoto, that guy, thought that after disbanding, he would be the only one left on the baseball field to swing his bat. But he would always hide in the dormitory and swing his bat until the lights went out. Every time. 2 bad balls. There was an upper limit to pitching training, but there was no hitting. As long as he practiced, he could become stronger. Don't underestimate me. 5 bats swung his bat. Bang! The sound of the bat hitting the ball. Run! Throwing away the bat, 5 roared and rushed to the first base. Yamamoto, who was on the first base, was rushing to the second base. Osamu Kanai, who was on the second base, was rushing to the third base. He didn't expect that in the end, he would run with the 2 people he hated the most. Not only them, Sansong's outfielder was also rushing to the ball that was hit. To win, for Koshien. Sansong's outfielder, catch the ball. Where to throw? Second base. A clear choice. The outfield is closest to the second base. Yamamoto, who is running to the second base, can he make it in time? Once he is eliminated, Kamigawa's summer will be over. Run. Yamamoto. Even at this time, Yamamoto was still expressionless. He raised his hands and legs, only looking at the second base like a robot. Second baseman, leave the second base and catch the ball thrown back by the outfielder. Catch it. Who goes back to the second base first? Sansong. Kamigawa. Sansong's second baseman and Kamigawa's third baseman, Yamamoto, were facing each other and rushed to the second base bag at the same time. Sansong's second baseman was too early, and he crawled to the second base bag. Fingers. Almost there. The audience held their breaths, and some people couldn't help but stand up and stare at the screen. Their hands almost reached at the same time. Who goes up first? The umpire is not sure. It's replaying. Everyone's heart was beating wildly, looking at the electronic screen in slow motion. It's Kamigawa. The commentator roared. There's still a chance. There's still a chance. The female commentator was incoherent. First base, second base, and third base are all occupied. 6 bats. Who's Kamigawa's 6 bats? Uchida still can't play. Is his replacement the reliever or the monster relief pitcher? Everyone was waiting. The camera focused on Kamigawa's manager's seat. On the electronic screen, they saw the handsome boy who was sitting there with his arms crossed slowly stand up. The female manager handed him the bat. It's the monster relief pitcher. Before the commentator could finish, the audience burst into cheers, drowning his voice. Watanabe, it's Watanabe. The girls of Kamigawa hugged each other excitedly. He won. He's going to win. That's right, he's going to win. Kaoru Hayami wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes, picked up the loudspeaker, and spoke to the entire band. Everyone, prepare the school song. Yes. Everyone answered in unison. Aona Koizumi, who was sitting in front of him, looked worried. Everyone thought that Toru Watanabe would win. If he lost, would they push all the blame onto him? He saved Kamigawa by pitching, so why did he have to bear such pressure? Toru Watanabe took the bat and went to first base before going to the hitter's area. Thank you for your hard work, he said. You said that as long as I can get on base, I'll lead Kamigawa to victory. 5 bats looked at Toru Watanabe. It might sound arrogant, but as long as I want to win, I won't lose. Toru Watanabe turned and walked to the hitter's area. Toru Watanabe, as the relief pitcher, ended Sansong's offense with a perfect strikeout. Now, standing on the field again, can he bring Kamigawa victory? As long as he hits, Kamigawa will score a run and the game will continue. But if he hits a home run, Kamigawa will end the game. Can he? Can he do it? Watanabe, respond to everyone's expectations. Bring a miracle. Let Sansong and the whole of Tokyo know that you are invincible. Sansong's pitcher stood on the pitcher's mound. Opposite him, the relief pitcher named Watanabe felt a strong sense of oppression. He ignored the impassioned commentary and felt everything around him. The sky was as blue as the sea, the pitcher's pedal under his feet, the hot and distorted air, and the invincible young man. But he loved baseball more than anyone else, and he wanted to win more than anyone else. He couldn't bear to leave. He wanted to continue playing with everyone. He wanted to go to Koshien. Sansong, the more difficult it was, the more he wouldn't give up. The pitcher's eyes became determined. Toru Watanabe looked at him and also ignored everything around him. Next, he swung his bat, placing the hopes of everyone in Kamigawa. Today, they had to go back with a smile. And the baseball club, he couldn't stop here. Finally, deep in his heart, he had a desire to convince everyone. It didn't matter how hard Sansong worked. The pitcher raised his leg, swung his arm, and threw the ball. Beep. 153 km/h. This ball broke the personal record. Bam. It was the metallic sound of the bat hitting the ball. The ball that broke the personal record disappeared into the blue sky at an even faster speed. It flew past the infield, flew past the outfield, and flew out of the outfield seats. Bam. Everyone looked at the ball that had sunk into the electronic screen. The electronic screen turned into a blur, stubbornly displaying the score. Sansong, 8 Kamigawa, 9 Incha. The entire stadium seemed to have been hit by a tsunami. The audience was frantically waving whatever they could. Toru Watanabe looked at the VIP seats and threw a flying kiss there. Is that for me? Kiyono Yuko said, clutching her chest. The other 3 people looked at her. Osamu Kanai, Yamamoto, Masaki, Hirata, Ehara. The baseball club opened their arms and rushed toward Toru Watanabe. Kobayashi Yuko could only panic. She couldn't squeeze in. Home run. Goodbye home run. Watanabe. He hit the ball out of the field. He turned the game around. Kamigawa is the king of Tokyo's 20th district. Kamigawa is the king of Tokyo's 20th district. Kamigawa's school song, which was high-spirited, hard-working, and full of nostalgia, was played in Jingu Stadium. The entire Kamigawa Baseball Club stood in the middle of the field, arms hooked around each other, chest puffed out, and sang the school song loudly as if they wanted to squeeze out all the voices in their bodies. The hills of the four valleys, the house where the crow flies, our alma mater. Kamigawa's teachers and students sang along. Everyone's eyes were filled with tears. Chapter 300. After singing the school song, the Kamigawa baseball team took off their caps and bowed to the whole school. They shouted, "Thank you very much." The 30,000 spectators burst into enthusiastic cheers. This game was full of shouts, fanaticism, tears, emotions, youth, and dreams. It satisfied their beautiful dreams of Koshien. I didn't expect Watanabe-kun to have such a side. I always thought he was a gentle and humble person who was neither servile nor overbearing. Mrs. Kujio waved her fan. "Mickey, have you seen him like this?" Miki Kujo looked at the boy on the field. "I guessed." "Guessed?" Mrs. Kiyono asked curiously. "I slept next to him without clothes, but he still insisted on running every morning." Miki Kujo said, "Such extreme self-discipline has an unknown and even terrifying side. It's natural. Maybe he's just too tired at night and doesn't have that kind of thought in the morning?" Mrs. Kiyono smiled mischievously. Miki Kujo smiled and didn't say anything. The two ladies looked at each other and laughed at the same time. Miki Kujo's smile was very confident. It seemed that Watanabe was very strong in that aspect. The two experienced people had reached a tacit understanding. This summer will be fun to witness Kun Watanabe's Koshien win the championship. Mrs. Kiyono looked expectant. Then she suddenly sighed. It's a pity that the original yacht plan was to go to Karuizawa for the summer. "You should be thinking about barking like a dog now," Mrs. Kujo said. "You can't even fool them?" Mrs. Kiyono was surprised. "Go ahead. Don't look at me, I suddenly feel shy." Mrs. Kiyono touched the side of her face and said shyly, "Toru Watanabe didn't follow the baseball team to receive the medal. He secretly left the field and went to the VIP seats. Walking in the corridor, he thought about what just happened. The baseball team of Sansong High School was crying bitterly. Their dreams had been shattered by him, and they were filled with unwillingness and regret. Although he felt sorry for Sansong, he did not feel much guilt in his heart. If he did not play, Kamigawa would be the one crying, and the other schools would be laughing. This was something he shouldn't have done, but he wanted to do it. Then, what about the other things? Was there something that he shouldn't have done, but he wanted to do it, and would never regret it after doing it? On the day of the family trip, she almost cried for the first time in her life. But Toru Watanabe walked expressionlessly. His insufferably confident handsome face didn't have the slightest bit of humanity. Occasionally, an audience would see him on the walkway. They wanted to greet him and ask for his autograph, but when they saw his expression, they hesitated and did not dare to approach him. Around 3:30 in the afternoon, the sun was still shining brightly. His bangs cast a shadow on Toru Watanabe's face. When he arrived at the VIP seats, his expression regained its liveliness. "Return of the King." He smiled as he walked in. "Woof," Mrs. Kiyono cupped her paws and placed them on the side of her face. She looked at Toru Watanabe cutely as he walked in. "Woof woof." Mrs. Kiyono cupped her hands. "Did you see my throw?" And the home run that broke the electronic screen and turned the game around. Even 10 years later, the 30,000 people present here will definitely remember it clearly. "Pretend you didn't see it." Mrs. Kiyono was in disbelief. "It's too cute. I don't dare to look." "That's more like it." Mrs. Kiyono was satisfied and aggrieved. "It's your fault, Kun Watanabe. If you continue to ignore me, I'll be sad." She had a head of exquisite short hair and was very elegant. She was not suitable for acting coquettishly at all. However, she was good-looking and could do anything. "By the way," Mrs. Kiyono cupped her hands gently. Congratulations in advance for winning the Koshien Championship. I don't plan to participate in the Koshien. Why? Mrs. Kujo asked. With Kuan Watanabe's ability, as long as there are no accidents, you'll definitely win the Koshien Championship. I've thought about a problem. Toru Watanabe smiled and tapped his temples. Huh? The four of them looked at him. I was born to stand above everyone. Why do I have to go out of my way to prove myself to others? Toru Watanabe asked, puzzled. Just like how as the president of a company, you won't deliberately compare your income with your employees? Miki Kujo said. Yes. Toru Watanabe walked behind her and squeezed her shoulders. Miki understands me. You have the bearing of an aristocrat. Mrs. Kujo cupped her mouth with a fan and said with a smile, then forget it. It's just the Koshien. It's just a project to make money. Then let's go on a trip tomorrow. I'll get someone to drive the yacht over. I'll also get someone to decorate the carriagings. Do you like the villa in the forest or the villa by the lake? I've never lived in either before. Either one is fine, Toru Watanabe said as he squeezed Miki Kujo's shoulders. Rin Kiyono had been watching Toru Watanabe ever since he said that he wouldn't participate in the Koshien. Indecisive man, she said. Hearing her words, the two ladies suddenly laughed. It was the laughter of watching a good show. Miki Kujo enjoyed Toru Watanabe's massage with an expressionless face. It's just a villa. It's not worth hesitating about, Toru Watanabe said casually. The Tokyo woman who liked to make insinuations. They agreed to meet at Kiyono's Palace Villa tomorrow and take the yacht for a trip. The five of them left the Jingu Stadium. They had dinner at a French restaurant. There were all kinds of cold dishes, such as foie gras, abalone, and caviar. After dinner, it was already dark. Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo took the car to Kamihocho. The car was silent. Miki Kujo crossed her legs and rested her elbows on the armrest of the car. She tapped her temple with her fingers. She looked very relaxed, as if today was a very happy day. I didn't play just because of Kiyono's words, Toru Watanabe confessed. Miki Kujo didn't even look at him. At that time, I really wanted to help Kamigawa. If they didn't work hard, then so be it. But they train harder than anyone else. I can't let my efforts go to waste because of a heatstroke, so... Enough. Miki Kujo glanced at him. Let's talk about it when we get back. The two of them returned to the Kamihocho villa. Miki Kujo went to take a shower first, followed by Toru Watanabe. When he came out, Miki Kujo was leaning against the headboard in her pajamas with a tablet in her hand. A thin belt was wrapped around her waist, outlining her slender waist. The curves of her body were graceful and seductive. Come here. She put down the tablet and ordered with her arms crossed. Toru Watanabe climbed onto the bed and was about to make a move. Sit upright. Miki Kujo pointed at the end of the bed with her carefully manicured fingertips. Yes. Toru Watanabe retracted his hand and sat upright at the end of the bed. Speak. I was wrong. Toru Watanabe said straightforwardly. I'll let you speak. The beautiful girl was as cruel as a devil. Toru Watanabe told her everything that happened outside the VIP seats. You're quite good at acting cool. Miki Kujo said sarcastically. There are times when you can't control your emotions. Act it out for me. What? Do I need to say it twice? Toru Watanabe stood up and slowly turned around. Wait a minute. Take this. Miki Kujo pointed at the bedsheet. This, I don't think it's necessary. Okay. Miki Kujo agreed without hesitation. Okay. Then please watch carefully, my Kujo classmate. Toru Watanabe turned the bedsheet upside down with both hands and draped it behind him like a cape. The bedsheet fluttered in the wind. He looked back slightly. Let me tell you what it means to stand at the top. Miki Kujo was expressionless. But as someone who understood every part of her, Toru Watanabe knew that she was trying very hard to hold back her laughter. Usually, when she was trying to hold back her laughter, she would put on a scornful and cold expression. But when she really wanted to laugh, she wouldn't make any expression, because she would laugh. Miki Kujo didn't have such a habit before, and there wasn't a time in her life that she really wanted to laugh. Until she met Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe tied the flyer around his neck, turning it into a cape. He jumped off the bed, then put his right foot on the window, crossed his arms, and said domineeringly and coldly, "Now, let them feel despair." Miki Kujo looked at him coldly. Toru Watanabe was speechless. Why isn't she laughing? Miscalculation? That's impossible. Miki Kujo suddenly lifted her leg. Her pajamas slipped down, and her beautiful snow-white legs were exposed. "A reward for you." The nine-legged queen smiled cruelly and said loftily. Toru Watanabe pounced. After enjoying her legs, he got into her pajamas. Miki Kujo gritted her teeth and twisted around. Her body seemed to be itchy. "Che." Her voice was melodious and charming. "Miki." Toru Watanabe straightened up and held her legs with both hands. Miki Kujo naturally wrapped her legs around his waist. Her delicate and beautiful face was fiery red, and her lush black hair spread out on the white bedsheet. She tilted her head back. When he came back to his senses, it was already late at night, and the surroundings were quiet. Toru Watanabe found a pillow and put it under his head. He pulled Miki Kujo, who was panting with her eyes closed, over and held her in his arms. Then, he pulled the thin blanket over their stomachs. Miki Kujo clung tightly to Toru Watanabe's body and didn't speak for a long time. Toru Watanabe enjoyed the warmth of her body and kissed her forehead and bangs. "Miki, thank you," he whispered. Miki Kujo lazily opened her eyes. "Let's not talk about the past." She closed her eyes again and leaned comfortably on Toru Watanabe's arm. "Although I hate that you went on stage because of her, it's not entirely because of her. Plus, I saw another side of you, so they cancel each other out." Looking at Miki Kujo in his arms, Toru Watanabe suddenly remembered something Aona Koizumi said before. Only by caring for and understanding each other can one's life be happy. My Asahi didn't want anything. Even the time he spent with her was up to him. Aona Koizumi took the initiative to invite my Asahi over for dinner, and their relationship slowly improved. Aona Koizumi was polite to him in front of Miki Kujo and considerately expressed that she didn't mind. Now, Miki Kujo was beginning to learn to be understanding. He had to care for and understand them as well. Toru Watanabe lowered his head and kissed Miki Kujo's rosy lips. "Again?" "No, I'm tired." Miki Kujo pulled up the blanket and covered her seductive body. "Tomorrow." "Ah." Toru Watanabe. This shouldn't be mutual understanding? The next day, the two packed their luggage and took a car to the palace villa where Kiyono's wife lived. Because Miki Kujo refused to get out of bed, the two arrived at the agreed time. Rin Kiyono and Mrs. Kujo were already there. "Let's go." Without giving the two time to rest, Mrs. Kiyono said directly. They didn't go out. Instead, they went to the garden. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the sun was already so hot that it was difficult to go out easily. In the garden, the sunflowers with wide leaves bloomed enthusiastically. Beside the sunflowers, the beautiful crepe myrtle flowers bloomed to their heart's content. Lilies, Persian chrysanthemums, zinnia, rose, pomegranate flowers, hibiscus, albizia, lotus. There were many flowers, so many that it seemed that the flowers that could be seen in July could be seen here. The forget-me-nots are still in full bloom. Rin Kiyono looked at a certain part of the garden. "You like it?" Mrs. Kiyono turned to look at her daughter. "Pick some and bring them along?" "Okay." Rin Kiyono nodded. Mrs. Kiyono ordered the servant to get scissors and a vase. Toru Watanabe carried the luggage onto the yacht. This yacht docked by the Gulf of Tokyo was quite luxurious. There were 3 floors in total. The first floor was the bedroom, which was fully equipped with daily necessities. The bed was a large double bed, and there was even a cloakroom, not to mention a bathroom. In addition to the 3 bedrooms, there was also a small KTV room and a movie room. On the second floor, the driver's seat was there. The view was very good, and one could enjoy the scenery while driving the yacht. In addition, there was a living room, a bar counter, a kitchen counter, and so on. There was also an open-air swimming pool on the deck. The third floor was very small. There was a large round sofa, and the table in the middle of the sofa was filled with various fruits and iced drinks. These were just the general idea. The rest of the yacht had a jet ski in the cabin, a deck chair at the end of the bed where one could watch the waves behind the yacht, a large bed at the head of the bed for sunbathing. How much is this? Toru Watanabe asked. You want it? Miki Kujo asked back. Please don't talk to me in a, I'll buy it if you want it, tone. I'll take it seriously. If you really want it, I can buy you one. No need. I don't need it except during the summer holidays. It's a waste of money. Useless. Toru Watanabe found the room with Watanabe written on the door. The other 2 rooms had Kiyono Kujo, big, and Kiyono Kujo, small, written on them. The 2 ladies really spared no effort in trying to reconcile their daughters. I'll sleep with you. Miki Kujo walked into Toru Watanabe's bedroom. They're all here. Can we sleep in the same room? Can't we? What if they hear us? Toru Watanabe was not sure about the soundproofing of the yacht. Then don't do it. Miki Kujo took off her shoes, unbuttoned her skirt, took off her stockings, and crawled into bed in her underwear and short-sleeved shirt. I'll sleep for a while. Don't let them disturb me. Toru Watanabe picked up the skirt and stockings. He opened the suitcase and was about to hang their clothes in the wardrobe, but the wardrobe was already full of his clothes, even a swimsuit. So, the clothes that Kiyono's wife prepared for Miki Kujo were in Kiyono Kujo, small. He stood up and walked out of the bedroom to get it. When he opened the bedroom door, he saw the beautiful curve of her back from her shoulders to her slender waist. At the upper part, there was a water blue bra strap. Toru Watanabe closed the door and pretended not to see anything. Pervert. Kiyono's cold voice came from the gap of the door that was about to close. A real pervert would pretend not to react and continue to look for a while. Toru Watanabe replied. Close the door. Don't worry, I'm not peeking. Aren't you cutting the forget-me-nots? Who knows if you're planning to eavesdrop on the sound of me changing clothes? I'm Kiyono's daughter. Do you think I need to cut flowers myself? Ah, I forgot. Lies. Okay, but I don't have the idea of maybe you're changing clothes, so I'll just barge in and peek. Can you close the door now? Yes, Miss Kiyono, but you really like blue. Toru Watanabe closed the door. With nothing else to do, Toru Watanabe walked up to the second floor. Mrs. Kiyono was placing the freshly cut forget-me-nots on the kitchen counter, while Miki Kujo was sitting in the driver's seat with sunglasses on. Toru Watanabe walked to Mrs. Kujo's side. You know how to drive a yacht? It's simple, it's no different from a car. Under Mrs. Kujo's steering, the yacht slowly left the garden and headed for the exit of Tokyo Bay. Toru Watanabe watched her drive for a while and suddenly realized that there was something wrong with the number of people. Just the 5 of us? No maids? Of course, this is freedom. Mrs. Kiyono walked over. A yacht sailing along the coastline from Tokyo to Osaka, and he was the only man. Kuin Watanabe, Mrs. Kujo suddenly said, I have your first task. What? Learn how to drive a yacht. So I'm the maid? You're the only man, right? Do more work. Mrs. Kujo stood up, took off her sunglasses, and put them on Toru Watanabe's head. Handsome captain. Mrs. Kiyono praised. Toru Watanabe sat in the driver's seat and coolly pushed up his sunglasses. Then, let me lead the 2 of you to the other side of the dream. You have an email. Chapter 301 Temporary event. On July 29, 10:14 in the game, the player will give up dominating Gyakko Garden and choose to travel on a yacht with Rin Kiyono, Miki Kujo, Kujo Masako, and Kiyono Yuko. Event content. Hug the waists of the 4 female characters and let them hug you. Event duration. Before the yacht arrives in Osaka. Event reward 1. Complete the mission with 1 person, Gift of the Sea, Gift Pack *1. Event reward 2. Complete the mission with 2 people, Gift of the Sea +1, Gift Pack *1. Event reward 3. Complete the mission with 3 people, Gift of the Sea +2, Gift Pack *1. Event reward 4. Complete the mission with 4 people, Gift of the Sea +3, Gift Pack *1. Toru Watanabe listened to Mrs. Kujo's lecture on the yacht while checking the event content. As usual, it was either challenging Toru Watanabe's bottom line, or it was so difficult that it was almost impossible to complete the mission. This mission was better than the previous one. With Miki Kujo around, he got a low-level gift pack that was better than nothing. You have a new email. Due to the low enthusiasm of the player, the quality of the reward has increased. Special announcement of the following reward information: Gift of the Sea +3. Specify the ability to transform into a sea creature, Super Yacht *1, 20 billion yen. Is it too difficult? No, it's already done. It's easy, right? On the sea, you can do whatever you want. What's wrong? Why are you in a daze? Mrs. Kujo patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder. Are you planning something bad? After the yacht leaves the port, you want to do something to us that you can't do on land? Yes, I want to swim with you. Toru Watanabe picked up the glass and took a sip. The fruit juice with ice cubes brought a chill to his body. Not swimming. Tell me the truth. I'm thinking about the super yacht in the future. This? Mrs. Kiyono asked in surprise. She leaned her elbow on the front window and looked back at Toru Watanabe. In addition, I'm still considering what I should become if I can become a sea creature. Aunties, what do you hope to become? The Mosasaurus is said to be the Tyrannosaurus Rex of the sea, the overlord of the sea, Mrs. Kujo said. It's too ugly. Jellyfish are the best. They're transparent, and some can even glow. I can't think of anything more beautiful than this. Mrs. Kiyono said. I'll eat 10,000 of you in one bite. Mrs. Kujo threatened. Then I'm pretty too, Mrs. Kiyono said nonchalantly. What about Kuan Watanabe? What does he want to become? A giant octopus? Toru Watanabe steered the yacht with both hands and replied, the kind that can easily overturn a 1,000,000-ton oil tanker. That's just a myth. The Mosasaurus you mentioned is also an extinct creature. At least it existed. Maybe there's such an octopus in the depths of the sea. The 3 of them were talking when Rin Kiyono came up from the first floor. Different from the swimsuit Toru Watanabe imagined, she just changed into a white dress and wore a sun hat she got last Christmas. She sat on the sofa behind the 3 of them and read a book. Little Rin, Mrs. Kiyono walked over, took the book from her hand, and grabbed her slender wrist. Don't read when you're traveling. Let's go to the deck and enjoy the sea breeze. 35 degrees, ultraviolet level 5. Rin Kiyono didn't struggle and just said this calmly. Well, Mrs. Kiyono let go of her wrist. Should we apply sunscreen first? Wait until we leave Tokyo Bay. If we go out now, we'll become a tourist attraction for those tourists. Rin Kiyono spread her hands. Mrs. Kiyono returned the book to her and looked at Kujo Shinichi helplessly. I'll leave the yacht to you, Captain. Mrs. Kujo patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder and went to the stern with Mrs. Kiyono. Leaning on the sofa in the cabin, Rin Kiyono opened the book and continued to read. Toru Watanabe steadied the steering wheel and looked back. The title of the book was Blue Planet 2. Kiyono classmate, he said, if you could become a sea creature, what would you become? Asking this question, do you have a way to become a sea creature? Rin Kiyono's eyes were still looking at the book in her hand. If possible, I want to become a space creature. Ultraman. Ah, yes, that's it. When the time comes, I'll stand on Tokyo Bay and look at Tokyo like a god. Cool. Tokyo Bay is 12 meters deep, Ultraman is 50 meters tall, only 38 meters above sea level. It's not as tall as an ordinary building and can't overlook Tokyo. So realistic. Becoming a sea creature is a reality. Rin Kiyono suddenly paused, then raised her head and looked at Toru Watanabe. You've turned into a cat, so, do you really have a way? It depends on whether you're willing to let me hug you. What if I'm willing? It depends on whether your mother is willing to let me hug her. You'd better think about how to become a space creature. Rin Kiyono retracted her gaze and continued to read Blue Planet 2. I think so too, Toru Watanabe said as he pressed the whistle. The whistle wandered under the blue sky and white clouds. The yacht set off white waves and headed toward the estuary of Tokyo Bay. After leaving the port, they chose to navigate, and Toru Watanabe left the driver's seat. He walked to Rin Kiyono's side and took the book. Stop reading, let's go. Give it back to me. Rin Kiyono looked at him coldly. How about fishing? Maybe we can catch a tuna. Sea fishing is not that easy. It's not uncommon to not catch a fish a day, but if you can catch a fish, it's not unusual to catch a tuna. It's just yellowfin tuna. Yellowfin? Toru Watanabe took a forget-me-not from the vase and clipped it to the page Rin Kiyono saw. Putting the book on the bar, the two walked to the stern. We usually eat bluefin tuna. In contrast, yellowfin tuna is produced more and tastes worse. Fishing is not for food, but for fun. In the shadow of the stern, the two ladies sat on the sofa, drinking red wine and enjoying the sea breeze. The small table in front of them was also filled with various fruits and desserts. Let's drive a little further. At 3 or 4 in the afternoon, we'll stop the yacht and go to the sea to play, Mrs. Kujo said to the two comfortably. You can see 4 people's swimsuits, Kuin Watanabe, Mrs. Kiyono teased. I'm looking forward to it. Toru Watanabe smiled. I've been wanting to see your body for a long time. Rin Kiyono frowned and stared at him coldly. Oh, it seems like you're telling the truth. Mrs. Kiyono covered her mouth with her hand and said happily, It's so nice to be looked forward to by young people. I want to see the belly that Auntie Genji mentioned, Toru Watanabe said. Mrs. Kiyono's smile froze. I don't have it anymore. She looked at Toru Watanabe angrily. Ha ha ha. Mrs. Kujo slapped the sofa with the hand that wasn't holding the red wine, and her laughter mixed with the sound of the waves. Rin Kiyono couldn't help but smile. Watanabe-san, enough is enough. It's cute that I have a small belly, Toru Watanabe explained to her. What if I make Miki-san have a small belly? Then forget it. Kuin Watanabe, come here. Kiyono waved at Toru Watanabe as if she had something good to show him. I'll go fish for you. Toru Watanabe picked up the fishing rod on the wall of the cabin and went to the deck. The sea breeze blew gently. He looked at the distant Tokyo Bay and smelled the scent of the waves. He put on the bait and threw it out with all his strength. The fishing line was stretched, and the rollers made a strong sound. After enjoying the comfortable sea breeze for a while, he had no choice but to fix the fishing rod at the stern of the boat and slip back because the sun was too strong. Rin Kiyono held a coconut with a straw and sipped it. Toru Watanabe also took a coconut from a bowl full of ice, drank a big mouthful, and breathed a sigh of satisfaction. Why don't I see Miki? Mrs. Kujo asked Toru Watanabe. Sleeping. He replied. One is reading, the other is sleeping. How is this a vacation? Mrs. Kiyono said. Doing what I want to do is a vacation. Toru Watanabe said. Did you do what you want to do? Rin Kiyono's pink lips released the straw and looked at him. Correction, doing whatever is a vacation. Kuin Watanabe, Mrs. Kujo suddenly asked. There are only 5 of us on the boat. Tell us honestly, between Miki and Rin, who do you prefer? Do you still need to ask? Of course, it's Miki. The two ladies stared at Toru Watanabe. From his expression, they could only tell that he was telling the truth. The two ladies looked at Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono was expressionless. To say that he was cold was a bit cold, but to say that he was pretending to be cold was also a bit like that. Two cunning brats. Mrs. Kujo slammed her wine glass on the table. It's time for lunch. Go and wake Mickey up. Toru Watanabe returned to the first floor. In the air-conditioned bedroom, Miki Kujo was sleeping soundly under a thin blanket. He crawled in from the end of the bed. The thin blanket moved up and down, and his head popped out from the head of the bed. His hand naturally held Miki Kujo's waist and whispered, "Get up." Miki Kujo didn't open her eyes. She squeezed her body into his arms and continued to sleep. Toru Watanabe's hand on her waist moved down and rubbed her round and perky buttocks. After a while, Miki Kujo opened her eyes and stared at him emotionlessly. "Get up." Toru Watanabe looked at her without any fear. Miki Kujo sighed heavily and was full of helplessness. She accepted her fate dryly. "Get up." Toru Watanabe slipped out of bed first. "What pants do you want to wear?" "Skirt." Miki Kujo sat up in bed and the quilt slid off her body. She stretched and could see her slender waist and the edge of her underwear. Toru Watanabe found a long skirt for her. Miki Kujo got out of bed and stepped on the carpet. She looked in the mirror and put on her clothes and tidied her hair. "Help me take a look." After she was almost done, she turned around and asked Toru Watanabe, who was sitting on the edge of the bed. Toru Watanabe got up and walked over. He held Miki's face and looked at it carefully. "What's wrong?" Miki Kujo asked. "Miki. Hold me. If you go crazy, we'll talk about it at night." With that, Miki Kujo was about to push Toru Watanabe away and take her face back from his hands. The moment she put her hands on Toru Watanabe's chest, Toru Watanabe bent down and kissed her lips. Kujio Miyoshi glanced at him and passionately responded to his kiss. Her slender hands wrapped around Toru Watanabe's waist and immersed themselves in the intimate kiss. Toru Watanabe's hands left her face and put on her shoulders. After a pause, his right hand continued to move down. "That's enough, you." Miki Kujo pushed Toru Watanabe away and rolled her eyes at him. "Just a little bit more." Toru Watanabe looked at his right hand and said regretfully. Miki Kujo turned around and walked to the bedroom door. She reached out her hand, but before she opened the door, she turned her head and said, "Tell that aggressive fellow to behave himself. I'm working hard. Also, there will be times when everyone will wear swimsuits on this trip. Don't embarrass me. If I embarrass myself, it's because you moved my heart at some point." "Are you done?" Miki Kujo said impatiently. "Why don't we?" Miki Kujo opened the door and walked out. Toru Watanabe stayed in the bedroom and checked the system while tidying up the bed. Temporary event reward, Gift of the Sea, *1. Player received, proficient level. Surfing. Player received, proficient level. Sea fishing. Player received, proficient level. Diving. It was a reward that he had never received before. Toru Watanabe stopped tidying up the quilt. Was this the reward quality increased due to the low evaluation of the player's enthusiasm for the game? The original reward was to choose 1 out of 3. It might even be mastery level. These 3 skills were dispensable, but they could make Toru Watanabe enjoy this yacht trip more. Can I become an octopus as big as Cthulhu? What will the yacht be like in the future? Toru Watanabe was very excited. Not to mention, Gift of the Sea +3, this reward quality increase, and the reward for completing the second mission were worth looking forward to. Even if he had 100 ways to create an accident and make them accidentally hug his waist, he would not do it. This was also the reason why the system increased the reward quality. Only Rin Kiyono was left. Although they were just friends, because of an accident, they hugged each other's waist. Wait. Toru Watanabe, we just decided last night to care for each other, to understand each other, and not to do anything that would make them angry or disappointed. Today you want to hug another woman's waist? Be responsible for it. Toru Watanabe broke free from the temptation of reward quality increase. Sigh. A sigh came from the door. Miki Kujo walked in. So troublesome, she said, walked to the bed, and pushed Toru Watanabe down. Hurry up, do you understand? She said in an impatient tone, and reached out to take off Toru Watanabe's pants. She paused, and then showed a contemptuous smile. Brother, why can't you do it? Sister, I'll come out when you're done. Miki Kujo turned around and left without mercy. Toru Watanabe looked at her back as she left, and then looked at the guy who had become aggressive again. He wanted to get out of bed and throw it back to Tokyo Bay. It would be a waste of time again. When he returned to the second floor, he smelled the appetizing aroma of meat. Behind the kitchen counter, Kiyono Yuko was frying steak. She was cutting something on the chopping board, and then she put the steak upright, and then she took something out of the fridge. His movements were nimble and extremely skilled, and it carried a sense of ease and ease. What took you so long? She looked at Toru Watanabe. Fortunately, she was just asking casually, and immediately said, It's almost done. I'll let you see Mom's cooking. Looking at your nimble movements on the kitchen counter and smelling the aroma, I know how good you are. Toru Watanabe walked to the counter. Do you need help? Just praise me there. Kiyono Yuko kept drizzling oil on the steak. Slowly open your eyes and see if Kiyono's mother is at the kitchen counter. The waves don't understand my heart, the summer wind takes away the aroma. Ah, my dear mother Kiyono, no one can replace her. The steak that no one can compare to. The beef that is full of juices. Your singing reminds me of a bobo fish. Rin Kiyono interrupted the song, Praise Kiyono's Mother at the Kitchen Counter, composed by Toru Watanabe, written by Toru Watanabe, and sung by Toru Watanabe. Fish in the sea can make sounds? Toru Watanabe asked curiously. No, it's ugly to the point that even I, who don't care about appearances, think it's ugly. Hey, Kiyono classmate, listen carefully, my singing isn't bad. I want to apologize to the bobo fish. It knows it's ugly, so it lives in the underwater world 800 meters below the sea level. But you actually swaggered around without any self-awareness and sang in front of me. I admit that you sing well, but I'm really not bad. Isn't that right, Mother Kiyono? Toru Watanabe turned his head and asked Kiyono Yuko at the kitchen counter. Mrs. Kiyono was very troubled. Don't sing when we're eating. I'm going back. Toru Watanabe got up angrily. Where are you going? Rin Kiyono asked. Back to the underwater world 800 meters below the sea level. I mean, come back to serve the steak. I'm really worried about your ability to understand. Toru Watanabe turned his head and said to her very seriously, Do you want to fight? Rin Kiyono didn't take it seriously at all. Toru Watanabe's gaze moved down and aimed at her waist. Watanabe classmate, Rin Kiyono turned her body slightly. I know you like my legs, but at least wait until there's no one around before staring at them. Kiyono Yuko looked at the two of them and smiled while setting the table. I know who Kuin Watanabe likes. P.S. Thank you to the leader of Matsuto Black Hat for becoming the 59th leader of this book. Chapter 302. The five of them sat at the dining table and enjoyed their steaks. Outside the window was the blue sea, and the pages of Blue Planet 2 flapped in the sea breeze. It's delicious, Toru Watanabe praised. As he spoke, he put another piece of beef into his mouth with his fork and knife. Kiyono Yuko revealed a satisfied expression. You didn't expect me to be this good at cooking, did you? She said. I'm shocked. You're lying again, a certain Rin said nonchalantly. Toru Watanabe looked at Kiyono Yuko. Auntie Yuko, can I hit your daughter? Go ahead. Kiyono Yuko shrugged her shoulders in a youthful manner. A certain Rin cut her steak with her fork and knife while looking at Toru Watanabe expectantly. Toru Watanabe avoided her gaze and looked at Miki Kujo. Miki, eat less, don't get a stomach. He used his fork and knife to take the piece of steak that he had just cut off from her plate and put it directly into his mouth. Miki Kujo rolled her eyes at him in annoyance and continued cutting her steak. By the way, Kun Watanabe, Mrs. Kujo suddenly said. Where did I put my sunglasses? The bridge. How do you know where Mother put her sunglasses? Miki Kujo stopped cutting her steak and turned to look at Toru Watanabe. Jealous? Mrs. Kujo asked with a smile. After all, you only look 15 years old. Miki can't help but feel a sense of crisis. 15 is too young. 17. What a coincidence. I'm also 17 this year. It's only been a month. What about you? Toru Watanabe asked. 2 months. Call me sister. Sister. Mother. Under the dining table, Miki Kujo's shoes were placed on top of Toru Watanabe's shoes. Honey, Miki Kujo picked up a piece of beef with a fork and brought it to Toru Watanabe's mouth. On the other side, Rin Kiyono put down her knife and fork, picked up her iced lemonade, and looked out at the sea. Toru Watanabe did not open his mouth. He raised his right index finger and pretended to listen. Everyone looked at him and fell silent. The wind rustled the paper. What's there? Before Mrs. Kiyono could finish speaking, the forget-me-nots that were sandwiched between the pages of Blue Planet 2 were blown out of the book by the wind and fell to the ground. Toru Watanabe suddenly stood up. Fish. He ran out of the cabin and rushed to the stern deck. Miki Kujo put away her knife and fork. What Chinese fish? I cast the hook just now. Rin Kiyono put down the lemonade. He was in the living room. How would you know that he hit the jackpot? Mrs. Kujo looked at Rin Kiyono. Are you lying? No. I'll eat outside. Miki Kujo picked up her and Toru Watanabe's plates, stood up leisurely, and walked to the stern of the boat. I'll go take a look too. Maybe we can sashimi directly. Mrs. Kujo held the plate in her left hand and the red wine in her right. Yes. We'll go too. Mrs. Kiyono picked up her and her daughter's plates and followed. In the dining room, only Rin Kiyono was left holding her knife and fork. She sighed and stood up with her knife and fork. When she reached the stern of the boat, the three of them sat at the outdoor dining table in the shadows and watched Toru Watanabe reel in the fishing line alone under the noon sun. Kun Watanabe, how did you know that the fish took the bait? Mrs. Kiyono asked loudly in the sea breeze. I heard the sound of the line being released. Toru Watanabe shook the roller vigorously. You can hear that? Mrs. Kujo said in surprise. Space creatures have poor hearing. In a vacuum, they can't hear each other. Mrs. Kujo was stunned. Why is this child so serious when he's joking? It's as if it's real. Rin Kiyono covered her mouth with her hand and laughed beautifully. Is this joke funny? Mrs. Kujo didn't understand the situation. It's not funny. Completely. If it's not funny, then what are you laughing at? Miki Kujo asked with a cold smile. Do I need your permission? Rin Kiyono retorted with a tit-for-tat question. On one side, Kiyono said to Kujo Masako, Are we going to argue too? Kun Watanabe will definitely choose me. What qualifications do you have to argue with me? Mrs. Kujo said confidently. Ah, you're very confident. Mrs. Kiyono said with a smile, Kun Watanabe has already fallen in love with my steak. May I ask why he fell in love with you? Like to pretend to be young? Fell in love with me. I'm clearly 8 or 9 years old, but I'm as tender as a 17-year-old. You're really shameless. Same to you. Who's the same to you? Kun Watanabe really fell in love with my cooking. You believe Kun Watanabe's words? It seems that you don't know him well enough. I agree. Rin Kiyono said while eating the steak leisurely. Miki Kujo snorted contemptuously and tacitly agreed. But it's true that he likes my steak, right? Mrs. Kiyono said with dissatisfaction. Isn't that right, little Rin? It's true that it's delicious, but he didn't say whether he liked it or not. What are you talking about? Toru Watanabe came back, holding the mouth of a fish with pliers in his hand. Dora Rin, help me identify what kind of fish this is? Rin Kiyono first glared at Toru Watanabe and then looked at the fish in his hand. It was about 25 centimeters, with a spindle-shaped fish body, a blue back, a silver-white belly, and a long tail that was very thin. After the identification, she didn't speak, just looked at Toru Watanabe and then continued to eat the steak. Yellowfin tuna? Toru Watanabe said, So, in short, it fell into a fish. Hurry up and eat, don't play with the fish. Miki Kujo said. Wait a minute. Toru Watanabe took a knife and stabbed it into the gills, ending the life of the fish. After the blood was drained, he put it in the freezer. He once again hung a small fish as bait on the hook and threw the hook back into the sea. After doing all this, Toru Watanabe sat down on the round sofa. I hope the next one is bluefin. If you want to catch bluefin tuna, I'll take you to Canada next time, Mrs. Kujo said. There's a better and closer place, Miki Kujo said. Where? Toru Watanabe asked. Tsukiji Market. That's not buying. Kuin Watanabe, I want to ask you a question. Huh? Toru Watanabe looked at the serious and dissatisfied Mrs. Kiyono. Excuse me, I'll tell you everything about fishing. Do you like the steak I fried? Of course I like it. Look. Kiyono looked at Mrs. Kujo proudly. Kuin Watanabe said he likes me. Hey. Toru Watanabe said with a smile, that's the most exaggerated quote I've ever seen. The four of them laughed at the same time, happily eating their steaks and enjoying the sea breeze. The yacht sailed on the vast and boundless sea. The waves at the stern of the yacht were like a white dress, quite elegant. After lunch, the two ladies and Rin Kiyono went to take a nap. Toru Watanabe was responsible for watching the yacht. Miki Kujo also stayed on the second floor after taking a nap. With the automatic navigation, there was nothing to do. Want to play a card game? Toru Watanabe took out a deck of cards. Okay. The two of them took off their shoes and sat cross-legged on the wide and luxurious sofa. They divided the cards into 3. Who's first? Without waiting for Toru Watanabe to finish, Miki Kujo had already reached out her hand. Toru Watanabe handed over the cards. Miki Kujo drew a red 3, then threw out a pair of red 3s. It was Toru Watanabe's turn. He drew a black king from Miki Kujo's hand, but he didn't have a black king in his hand. Miki Kujo drew a black ace, but she didn't have a black ace. It was Toru Watanabe's turn again. As they played, Miki Kujo lay down, her head resting on Toru Watanabe's lap. She waved her hand, and Toru Watanabe handed over the cards, drew a red 6, and threw out a pair of red 6s on her stomach. Toru Watanabe glanced down at her, took a black 5 from her hand, and threw a pair of black 5s on her stomach. When it was Miki Kujo's turn, she directly grabbed Toru Watanabe's wrist, pulled it down, looked at the cards, chose a red 2, and threw out a pair of red 2s. I didn't peek at your cards. What were you looking at? Your breasts. Yeah. Miki Kujo pulled Toru Watanabe's wrist again, looked at the cards, and chose a card. You don't want to play anymore? Toru Watanabe asked her softly. When there were only the two of them, he would always subconsciously lower his voice. Boring. Miki Kujo said lazily. Toru Watanabe took away the cards in her hand and stomach, and threw them aside with the cards in his hand. He helped Miki Kujo up and let her sit on his lap. Actually, this is what you want to do, right? Toru Watanabe wrapped his arms around her waist and said in a low voice with a smile. Guess. Miki Kujo put her hands on his shoulders, and looked into his eyes with a smile. Whether you want to or not, I want to. Toru Watanabe stuck out the tip of his tongue. Miki Kujo's eyes were contemptuous, and she wrapped her arms around his neck, and gave him the tip of her tongue as if she was giving alms. At first, it was just the tip of the tongue, but at some point, it was hard to tell who moved forward first, and their lips intertwined. Toru Watanabe's hands gently stroked Miki Kujo's back. The curve of her hips, her slender waist, and the strap of her underwear. "I'm satisfied." Toru Watanabe hugged her waist tightly, and buried his face in her chest. "If we keep kissing, they'll—" Miki Kujo pushed Toru Watanabe's face away, and ordered in a low voice, "Continue." She kissed him. The world was bright, and looking into the distance, they couldn't see the coastline. As far as the eye could see, the sea stretched to the end of the horizon. The yacht braved the wind and waves, but it also seemed to stay in place, and they could hear the distant sound of a steam whistle. The two kissed for a long time in such a scenery. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when the scorching sun finally subsided, the five of them prepared to stop the yacht and go for a swim. The scene of applying sunscreen in the anime didn't happen. When they came out of the bedroom, everything that needed to be applied was already applied. But Mrs. Kujo wore a black bikini, and her voluptuous breasts and skin glowed. Mrs. Kiyono wore a yellow bikini, and her delicate and taut skin and legs were long and slender. Paired with a transparent life buoy, she looked like a magazine cover girl on a tropical beach. "What do you think?" The two ladies stood together. "Aha, very suitable." Toru Watanabe had to admit that he really looked at them a lot, and then stubbornly looked away. The scene in front of him was probably something that only people who weren't men could completely ignore. Even girls would stare at them enviously for a long time. Beautiful legs, neck, collarbones, smooth limbs, voluptuous breasts, firm and fair skin, a nicely shaped belly button, and here and there. "I didn't expect you to be interested in women over 30. Miki Kujo walked up from the first floor. She wore a white bikini with flounces around her breasts and lower body. "I chose it." Mrs. Kiyono walked over and hugged Miki Kujo's arm. "Does it look good, Kun Watanabe?" Toru Watanabe's eyes swept over the flounces of her bikini, and his gaze moved up the seductive V-line to the voluptuous breasts under the flounces. "Miki, you can actually go for the pure route," Toru Watanabe said. Miki Kujo rolled her eyes at him. "That's it?" Mrs. Kiyono asked. "Tonight will be good." "Uh-huh." It wasn't because of the words, but because he suddenly noticed that the two of them were wearing the same flounces. She twisted her slender waist, which was exposed in the air, and the flounces fluttered together. Mrs. Kiyono and Miki Kujo, the two of them stood up together. There was a shock of something else. He looked away. Then, Rin Kiyono appeared in front of him. "Is this the beach towel from last time?" Toru Watanabe quickly looked at the legs that were barely visible under the beach towel. "The color is the same. No matter how I look at it, it's the same one from last time." He pretended to study the beach towel and continued to look at the legs. "Damn beach towel, move it a little more." "No, wait. Maybe it was because of the beach towel that it was more attractive." "Ah. It's like it's been pulled away. I can't stop looking. The stripes are different." Rin Kiyono slightly spread her legs, as if she was trying to unfold the beach towel. But halfway through, she stopped and hid her exposed calves back into the beach towel. "It doesn't matter if it's the same one or not, let's go for a swim." She glanced at Toru Watanabe and turned to walk to the back of the boat. "I'm not showing it to you." That was what her eyes meant. "It's exposed. But I'll be able to see it when we get into the water." The five of them walked to the deck at the back of the boat. "Let's have a motorboat battle." Before they got into the water, Mrs. Kiyono said excitedly, "Mother on one team, daughter on the other." "I'm not playing." Rin Kiyono picked up the inflatable bed and seemed to be planning to float leisurely on the sea. "Then I'll be with Watanabe," Miki Kujo said. Rin Kiyono was about to throw the inflatable bed into the sea when she heard her words and stopped. "Kiyono's family on one team, Kujo's family on the other team," she said coldly. "Okay." Miki Kujo smiled. The two ladies were used to the failure of their plans. They were not disappointed and did not force it. The two pairs of mother and daughter each rowed a motorboat. The ladies drove the motorboat, the ladies sat behind and held the water gun, and Toru Watanabe was the referee. Referee. How does it count as a loss? How does it count as a win? Toru Watanabe asked. There's no winning or losing. Miki Kujo sat at the back of the motorboat. Oh, I get it. It's just to vent your anger. Toru Watanabe nodded. Let the competition begin. Hold on tight. The two ladies shouted and turned the handles. The motorboat rushed out. The ladies were having a lot of fun, and they were very skillful. They kept finding shooting angles for their daughters. It was unknown if the two ladies were playing, but the water gun did not stop for a moment. When they both had ammo, they could still dodge each other. Once one of them ran out of ammo, they had no choice but to stop and not resupply. It was hard to tell if that scene was a baptism of ammo or a wash of hair. Toru Watanabe was wearing beach pants that reached his knees, and he was still wearing a short-sleeved shirt. He sat on the deck with his legs soaked in the sea. He supported himself with his hands behind him and looked at the four people who were having fun. Now, little Rin. It was Miki Kujo's turn to run out of ammo. Mrs. Kujo had no choice but to slow down a little. Mrs. Kiyono drove the motorboat over. Rin Kiyono, who was already wet, stood up with a large water gun and aimed it at Miki Kujo's face. Ah! It was Rin Kiyono who screamed. She slipped and fell from the motorboat into the water. Ha ha ha, so weak, Rin. Miki Kujo laughed loudly. While laughing, she did not forget to reload the gun. Because Rin Kiyono fell into the sea, Mrs. Kiyono had to stop. Miki Kujo was waiting for Rin Kiyono to get on the motorboat. At that time, she would have the final say on whether it was her face, her back, her stomach, her butt, or her thighs. However, Rin Kiyono threw away the water gun, dived, and disappeared. Referee. Miki Kujo shouted. Ha ha ha. Toru Watanabe laughed. While laughing, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It was Rin Kiyono. The sun in the distance was red, and her face was covered with a layer of dusk. Her usual inviolable temperament became warm and bright. This was not a special moment, and nothing special happened. It was just a very ordinary moment. Toru Watanabe was sitting on the deck of the boat, looking at the sunset. Rin Kiyono suddenly emerged from the sea in front of him. Her black hair was soaked in water and stuck to the side of her face. At that moment, the two of them looked at each other. The afterglow of the sunset changed on their faces, and they kept expanding in each other's hearts. Their hearts were beating very fast. If this was the first time the two of them met, it might have been love at first sight. P.S. Thank you to the fifth leader of Spring Rain 1994, thank you very much. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.